Welcome to the UK's first metal detection podcast. It's All Metal Mode UK with your host from across the pond, Mr. Michael Hare.
Hey everybody, this is Mike here, and you're listening to the All Metal Mode UK podcast. And boy, am I excited to have Addicted to Bleeps back on, Mr. Chris. Just before the show, we were actually kind of getting late start almost because we were talking metal detectors, and I love doing that. And that's what we're going to do tonight. Me, him, and Dave are going to talk some different metal detectors and doing that. Before I hand it off to Dave for news and stuff and have a little chat with him, I don't usually do this, but I think it was a fun show. I enjoyed doing it. You know, I do the All Metal Mode podcast in the United States every Monday and Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday night show, me and Matt Hoffman, he is my co-host every Tuesday night. Great guy, very knowledgeable. Passionate, hardcore, and just in the last 2 weeks, he bought he had a CTX, an AT Pro. He's got a couple Rudis. He's got this guy's got a ton of detectors. He loves you. He's like me. He likes using them and trying out different things and testing them and going out and and having different tools for the job. He's hardcore getting out there and doing it though too, not just into testing and all that. He knows his stuff. But in the last 3 weeks, he got an 800, an Equinox 800, an Amphibio, and an ORX. So and then I just got the C-Scope. I've got the Amphibio. I've had the Amphibio for a while. So that was our show. We talked about the XP ORX, Nocta Macro Amphibio, the Amphibio Multi, and the Equinox 800 and the C-Scope 6MXI. Now, they were just initial impressions, okay? I'm getting some pretty good time on the Amphibio, not to a point I'm ready to do a review yet, but getting close. I got to get out a little bit more. I was going to get out to this morning. That was my goal, and I got sick 2 days ago. It really hit me yesterday, last night, and then I woke up this morning, and I'm just miserable, so I didn't get out with it again this morning like I wanted to, but it was a good show. So, and to listen to the show, if you go out to Spreaker, you can download it at any time. You can listen to it right off of there. But if you want to download it for while you're in a car ride or something like that, you can go to iTunes and get it. iHeartRadio, we're on YouTube, and there's even some other affiliates that I'm not even sure off the top of my head who they are. So there's plenty of places to find the show, download it, and listen to it. So, Mr. Sadler, how you doing, buddy?
I'm not bad, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. A little sick. I apologize tonight if I cough. I've got my hand on the mute button. I'm going to try to get through this. I did take some really good cough medicine before the show. It's called Jack Daniels. It's got the honey in it though to soothe your throat. So, Jack Daniels honey, that does the job, man. I shouldn't be coughing.
Well, I thought, obviously, tonight, I usually do a few updates at this point, but seeing as Chris might be only available for a certain amount of time, I thought we'd go straight into speaking to Addicted to Bleeps tonight, and then maybe pop onto the other subjects a bit later on.
That's fine. That's great. Where's everybody at? Did I set it up right? Did I launch us to the right podcast and stuff? Because we have nobody in chat.
Yeah, someone called Leaf Simpson's in.
Yeah,
somebody
awesome.
Have no idea called Addicted to Bleeps is in, and you're in.
Yeah, so, what's up with that? Let me make sure. I'm going to run to Spreaker real quick. Make sure I launched on the right one. I don't know. Raffle. Usually we have some people, and of course people kind of drag in a little bit later, don't they? I guess we are
just. Because they will hate me.
No, not at all. You're great.
And I'm also going to apologise tonight. I had something in my head about the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine. I've had it in my head for a couple of days, and I'm having to do it now before it leaves me head. It's a few different areas I'm adding and changing a few things around. I think will make it a bit more user friendly and specific. So I apologise if I disappear into Vietnam mode. I'm actually just trying to. I'm just starting to do it.
No, man, that's fine. You know, I hope everybody knows we do our best, but we've got a lot going on. I know Dave works a lot of hours. I've got my own articles. I've got 3 metal detecting podcasts I do a week. It is a lot to keep up on, and but I love it. I love every bit of it. You'll never hear me complain. I live metal detecting. So, but sometimes I find it a little overwhelming. I'll get to where I've got 2 or 3 articles backed up. I got to finish. I've got to get everything set up for the podcast and everything else. And but no, you go ahead, Dave. We're talking metal detector.
I'm still here, my friend. Don't worry about it. I've just, as I say, I've just got something in my head I want to alter. And I spoke to Luke about it earlier, so I am here. I am listening.
Okay.
I'm just playing behind the scenes as well.
Right. So
again, we will introduce our guest, Mr. Addicted to Bleeps.
Bleeps.
You know that. That's how Jonathan Wass would introduce you.
Do you know what the worst thing is about Addicted to Bleeps? And this is kind of like an ongoing joke now with my followers. If you type in addicted to blur, like addicted to bleach, comes before addicted to bleeps in Google. So addicted to bleach is way more popular than me. But my argument is, how addicted can you be to bleach?
right.
Because it's going to kill you. Like
I don't think you'd be very well.
Yeah, that's it. You can't be addicted to it, can you? You're going to swallow it and die.
Right. That is funny.
It cuts out the whole addiction bit.
Right. Yeah, that's a short-lived addiction.
Yeah,
that's funny.
There you go. It's like being addicted to lightning.
Right. I just read a story about a guy who got hit by lightning, and then he got hit a second time. The second time it killed him, and then his headstone was hit by lightning 2 different times and destroyed.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What did you do in a past life?
Right. What'd you do, mister? You got in some trouble. Somebody was after your butt.
I've been fascinated. It's funny you should say about that, actually. Just, we really digress, Mike, when we start talking.
Yeah,
but anyway,
right.
this will be my last digression, I promise. I'm really into like near-death experiences. I'm just fascinated by them. Mm-hmm. And just coincidentally, I was watching one earlier today where a guy got hit by lightning twice.
I thought you were watching an after-death experience then.
No, yeah, he got hit by lightning twice and had the old, woo, up the tunnel, have a chat to the old ancestors and back down the tunnel type thing again. Anyway, sorry, I do digress.
I had a neighbor that I called her, was it Miss Kravitz? Super nosy, dude. Knew everybody's...
Lenny's mum.
Yeah, knew everybody's business, man. I knew she would tell my business, and I don't care, but she'd come tell me everybody else's business and stuff, and I'd try to just get away. But one day she told me she'd been hit by lightning 2 different times, and I believed it. Like, that made sense then. Okay, I get it now. But yeah, boy, this lightning scares me. I love a good storm, but like, let's get into metal detector talk, man, because I love doing that, and but I get it. I'm into that as well, like afterlife and near
show on that.
Yeah, I mean that is so fascinating me. Ghosts and Chris, stuff, man.
If you'd ever listened a couple of weeks ago, we had a guest on called Steve Mera, who in my aforementioned career as a parapsychology, ufology, cryptozoology, etc. Steve I worked with for years, and I've had several books, but we don't speak about them.
You're a dark horse, Dave.
I am very.
You need to speak, old chap.
I'm also a Freemason. There you go. And throw another one in the hat.
We were getting on so well.
I only became a Freemason because I wanted to know more about the
Illuminati,
the history, etc. And you can't be find stuff out about something if you don't actively participate. So that's
you do the funny old handshake and the nipple rub and that.
I don't do the nipple rub yet. No, I do. I just do that to myself. Anyway, Steve Mira, we had on a couple of weeks ago. He is a full-on parapsychologist. Me and Steve worked together for years. One of my closest friends, and he's now continued on to the point where, again, if you listen to the show, he talks about the Rochdale poltergeist. He talks about the alleged finds of metal objects at Roswell recently.
Wow.
And he also goes into depth. He went over to Peru not long ago to discuss and investigate alleged potential alien mummies, and I'm doing that with finger marks no one could see. So he's actually just come back from Las Vegas. He's been touring Las Vegas for the past week or two, doing lectures and such like. So you really need to speak to him and his magazine, which I used to be co-editor of, Phenomena magazine.
Which they are looking. They're hiring people. If anybody's interested, they posted it on All Metal Mode UK, All Metal Mode Podcast UK, I think is how it is. Geesh, I don't even know my own Facebook group, but yeah, you can see it on Facebook on the All Metal Mode Podcast UK, and it really interesting. What kind of, I enjoyed the whole show. Don't get me wrong, and he talked about some really important stuff. I thought, or I loved that some of it, he just called out, and I love that we went there. But him talking about being thrown across the room sent chills up my spine, man. Made my hair stand up. I've had some. I was
privy to that investigation, and I know we're going off topic, digressing. It's actually me that's doing it, not you, Chris. But I was privy to that investigation. I've seen the images, I've seen the reactions, etc. I was very close to what's transpired, and I can honestly say that it did take place. And it did actually make Steve question his input into the subject. So I know that
there is a link here, though, isn't there? I mean, sometimes you pick stuff up and you get just like what is, just a feeling off of certain items sometimes. Do you ever get that? I do. I get the heebie-jeebies off some stuff.
Well, right. Mike tells a story about how you had a particular incident take place where you could deem paranormal in nature and actually led to you discovering something, didn't it?
I've had several we haven't got into. I lived in a true haunted house. And I'll tell you what, I've always been fascinated with the paranormal, but it is not fun when you're living it every day. And there was some really crazy stuff going on in that house. But I've dug thousands of targets, thousands upon thousands, and, over the years. And I found a button, and I didn't know what it was at first. And when I got it in my hand, I couldn't even see it. It was covered in mud. I saw a picture in my head, but first, it was like I got shocked. And I was in the woods. There was nothing around electric, and it put me back on my butt, I fell backwards and shocked, and a picture came in my head, and it really threw me for a loop. And talking, I kind of talked to some close friends about it, and it was amazing to me, even just close friends who opened up about relics they had found that stuff had happened. A friend of mine found a World War I button and was cleaning in his kitchen, looking down at it, walking over to a stove, because he had the light on and he wanted to look at it closer. When he looked up to gauge how close he was to the stove, there was a World War I soldier standing there. Stuff like that. It's amazing. I would love to do. I wish we could find enough people to do a show like that sometime to talk about their experiences with relics that are found, because it happens. Another friend of mine found a cast iron plane, brought it home, and weird stuff started happening in his house. And come to find out, a kid had burned up in that house in like the 1930s or 1940s, and he wondered what he'd brought home and stuff. But let's get to the. I think.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I could. Sorry, Mike. Just cutting. I was just getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about that, because I could, if I saw World War II, that'd be new pants for me, please, Mum. But the one thing I don't want to find is people find them all the time, and I swear to God, if I find it, I'm going to freak out. You get little lockets with pictures inside of them. They still have the picture of the person inside. Yeah, that can go. That's in the bin.
A friend of mine at a spot that I got permission for found one, and when we took it to my house and opened it, you could see the lady in the locket. And I'll tell you what, man, to me, that's not creepy or anything, and there's nothing creepy, but it was really cool to open it and see that picture from, the late 1800s, early 1900s, man. I love that. Vincent asked, have you tried the Rudis altar yet? He's not there yet. I think he's getting close, but we are going to touch on the altar real quick tonight. Dave's used the altar, and but yeah, I love. Oh, I wanted to say real quick for the last thing, because people are like, "What's the topic tonight? What are we talking about?" My friend, when I confessed to him about my button and seeing a picture in my head, getting shocked and a picture in my head, he said, "Hey, do you remember that World War I button I did a video on?" He said, he'd found some silver coins and stuff too. He said, "I have the original video." Well, he had his camera on and he edited out of his YouTube video, but he showed me the original. And when he's walking over to the stove, he's got it panned down on the button. He goes, "I'm gonna go over to the stove and look at it better." And you can tell when he looks up, because he goes, "Oh shit!" And he like the camera jerks. It was legit. I mean, he doesn't want people to know. He only told me, he admitted it to me because I told him that story. But he didn't get anything on video, but on video, I mean, the camera jerks violently, and he, scared to death, yells, "Oh shit!" I mean, that was really wild to see. But let's, man, we could just have a whole show. Yeah, let's get into some metal detector talk, and maybe we'll put together another show like that and have you on, and we can talk about some stuff. So you're on the 800 now, the Equinox 800. Let's touch. I didn't catch the end of your videos on the Amphibio. Can you kind of just give us a quick rundown on that?
In a nutshell, the Amphibio. Let me just rewind slightly. Yeah, all in all, it was a good machine. I think that I preferred it most in 3-tone and deep mode, I think, if I remember rightly. I didn't get on with it on the beach, though. That's it. I remember now, yeah. My problem was that because it was, predominantly sold as an amphibious machine, and amphibious, and it's waterproof, and then you look at the branding and it's all like water based. I was just a little bit let down by the water part of it, is all. I felt that the field part was a lot more potent and strong. Yeah, it's a good machine, and as I said, lots of people are going to find lots and lots of things with it. But then came the Equinox.
Well, real quick, now were you on saltwater beaches or? Yeah,
saltwater. Yeah.
Okay. See, I haven't used I spent a day on a freshwater beach, and I thought it worked flawlessly. It was doing good, but I haven't done saltwater. Now, I have heard the 800 just kills it in saltwater. I haven't used one, but I've heard. So let's go into the 800. So let's talk about that. There are videos. If you want to watch his videos on the Nocta Macro Amphibio, please go out and check him out and check out his videos, Addicted to Bleeps, on YouTube. I know I watched a few of the beginning ones, and they were great, but I like all your videos. So let's get into the 800.
Yeah, okay, so I went from the Amphibio, and I got an opportunity to use the 800. I've always kind of been a bit against the people who are always like, have you tried the 30-30, try the Deus, the 30-30 and the Deus. We've been hearing that for the last, God knows how long for. And because we were talking about it earlier, Mike, I was saying that, I'm a musician and I come from like a rock, grunge, metal, punk background. And I'm kind of like a bit anti-corporation. I'm more for the little guy. So I've kind of gone, begrudgingly gone like, no, I don't want to try one of those 30-30 things. They're for sellouts.
Right.
I'm going to use a pendulum and dowsing rods. That's where the real... And so Joan Allen, a company called Joan Allen, and who I've always really respected, said hey, just try one of these out. I thought, all right, okay, if you're saying it, I trust you guys. So I got hold of one. And I was like, okay, then let's see how this blooming thing goes. And I thought there was going to be a really steep learning curve. That was my first concern. I thought going to be too much bits and bobs. I kind of found that with the Amphibios. I think there's like 9 modes for the Amphibia, and I reckon they could have squeezed that down to 4 or 5. So along come the Equinox, and I just thought, right, I'm just going to run it out of the box. Then let's just not, let's not just fiddle with things too much in the first instance. Okay, I'm going to mess with the sensitivity ever so slightly if I'm going to get a bit problems on the field, and then I'm going to knock it to 5 tones as well. Oh my god! And I went out with that thing, and I just fell in love with it. You got. With me, I've got to stay as objective as possible, I guess. If I'm going to review something, and I know how kind of how I appeal to the bloke off the street, because I am a bloke off the street, or a woman off the street, whatever. But just people that they're gonna part of their hard-earned cash, and these let's be honest, these things are a lot of money, and you want to bloody well be finding some good things with them if you're going to pay that much money. So. I'm going to try and be as objective and as honest as possible with people. I'm not funded by anybody. I'm not I don't work for any company. So I get the opportunity to be honest. And it's hard to say anything bad about the Equinox without sounding like you kind of are working for Mindlab or something, because I love it that much. I think it's such a great machine. It's got its bad points. The shaft isn't great, and it's a bit wonky. That's it. That's the bad points out. The rest of it is brilliant. It's just I just got on with it, Mike, and I can't really. I know some people haven't got on with it, but it's been a slow increment for me to the Equinox 800, right? Mm-hmm. I've used a lot of metal detectors. If you look at my channel and other channels that I've done work on, and I've used a lot of machines, but I've never used a 3030 or a Deus, so I have no frame of reference. So I can't say to somebody who's got a 3030 or a Deus, you should try the Equinox 800, because that would just be dishonest. Mm-hmm. And I'm not entirely sure that the 800 is as good as the 3030. I can't imagine it would be. But for me, like so far, figuring, like using the machines that I have used, I think that it probably just sits just under there, or maybe underneath the E-Track even, or about the same. I don't know. But for me, so far, it's just been brilliant. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You just got to watch my videos. I'm doing really well with it. And then just go YouTube videos and look at other people's finds with the Equinox 800. Look at Paul C's videos. The amount of gold rings that guy finds. It's been great. I've just found this week's video. I found another hammered coin. It seems to love hammered coins. Anyway, I haven't fiddled with it. These settings are out of the box, and which is crazy. I haven't gone into any advanced settings. I haven't gone into the notch discrimination. Mike, I don't really pay that much attention to target IDs. It's all audio for me, and it's just worked out really well.
One of the things that I can tell you right from the start that I don't like, and it's fair not even using one to say this, is, and there's a lot of complaints here in the United States. I've heard that there's complaints over in the UK. Matter of fact, I've heard more people in the UK, is the 50 VDI. Things run so close together where, like the Rudis, how I have it set up right now, a quarter will come in. I know our denominations are different and all that, but a quarter, the difference between a quarter and a dime is over 10 VDI points. And you get that really good separation through the VDI. I hear that the depth gauge is worthless on the 800, and there are places, keep in mind we're a little bit different here in the United States for the most part. I mean, I will go hunt parks and schools and old parks and schools and stuff, and sometimes that depth gauge is what is the difference between digging crap all day long or getting where the deeper targets are and digging them. They did away. One of the things that I loved about the E-Track and the CTX is it had volume gain, which you could turn it down so those deeper targets come in quieter, and you could really pick out those deeper targets. And when you're hunting someplace like a super trashy park and stuff, that really came in handy. So a lot of people that I know are really disappointed that they did away with that. I'll be honest with you, and I say this, I am not the politically correct guy, and I just say how I feel. I am not a fan of MindLab. I have a lot of years of dealing with them, and as a company, I will openly say I don't like them. I do like their technology. I think the E-Track and CTX are brilliant. I haven't used the 800, and but there are a few things that I think they kind of made a mistake on. I mean, the E-Track and CTX probably have the best depth gauges, the most accurate depth gauges I've ever seen. And for example, I used to hunt a really trashy field, fairgrounds, and I mean, you could dig targets all day long. And never find a silver coin, but I managed 40 silver coins in one area because I could set my volume gain down and the depth gauge was deadly accurate. And I pulled some, matter of fact, I pulled out two. I pulled out one that was worth over $100. I still have it. I don't sell my stuff, but worth over $100, and another coin that was worth about 50. But so to take that away, I can tell you that already disappoints me, and I wish MindLab would get away from that 50 VDI. I know MindLab will have nothing to do with me. I'm like the black sheep for sure because I speak my mind. But I know on another United States podcast, a lot of people were saying we don't like the 50 VDI. Can it be changed? And MindLab's response was no. And that's fine. You got it. No detector's perfect. Nothing's going to be set right, but have everything perfect. But
I think that. Sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
I think that for a start, one man's poison is another man's medicine. We know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm a very simple person in the fact of I just want things to work. Right? I don't want to have to faff around with anything. I don't like things that are overcomplicated. I don't like where I have to overthink things too much.
Right.
I made PCs for years, and I went through the process of making PCs for years. I then started making videos, and then I found Apple, and I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant." I just did away with PCs. I did away with the blue screens of death. I did away with crashing. Found a brand that I was like, "This just works." Now I can continue to be creative and not have to worry about the hardware and dealing with things breaking all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm the same with I've got a very, very, very short tolerance for things that don't work. If I've paid my money, I just want it to do what it says on the tin. Now, when it comes to metal detectors, for example, with the MindLab, I've gone out with it pretty much out of the box, and I've done well with it. Stuff like depth meters and VDI, and this is where we differ. I don't consider these things. For me personally, I think that metal detecting, the metal detector itself is secondary to the act of metal detecting. I want to go out. I don't want to consider the screen. I want it to go beep or not go beep. Right? Just tell me if there's something there, or tell me if there's not something. At its very simplest form. Yeah, because I'm a very simple guy. I don't want to look at the screen. I don't want to go assess things. I don't want to have to do. I just tell me, do I dig or don't I dig? Bam. Because I'm always going to dig the dodgy signals anyway. And that's where I think that perhaps we differ as metal detectorists. And I think
absolutely. We do different kinds, and that's okay. I mean, it's okay to disagree or... I'm not disagreeing with you because I have not used an 800. I will soon. I will have one soon to play with and stuff. But, that's what the great thing about different testers, because what's important to me isn't to you and vice versa. And so it's good to get different opinions and different approaches. If you're mostly field hunting, you have no need for a depth gauge. You have no need for the volume. There's certain things that a detector needs to do to meet your satisfaction, and the same for me. But they're different because we do different. Now I do some different. I do a lot of field hunting, especially when I'm in Ohio, and those things don't matter that I just mentioned to you. I don't care about a depth gauge. I don't care that I can't change the the volume on it. So, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But if I do this 50 hours, for example, this review like kind of season that I'm doing with the 800, and I complete that, and I feel a little bit more comfortable with the machine, then I know that I can dip my toe in further and go and take it to those, like, understand the target IDs more and mess around with the advanced settings more and mess around with at the moment, multi-frequency, mess around with the sensitivity a little bit, 5 tones, bang. If it's a good sounding target, I'll dig it, and if it's not, then I won't. And that's my relationship with it at the moment, the 800, and that's why I personally just get on with it so well. And as I said, down the road, I can dip my toe in a little bit further and mess around with other things. But the reason I haven't changed anything, Mike, is because I'm scared to now, because
it's working so good right out of the box.
Yeah, what to change?
You're going to find out with the Rudis. I think the Rudis is just brilliant right out of the box, man, and it's incredible. I'm really excited when you do that and you're ready to. You don't even have to be done, but when you're ready to talk on that, I want to get you on the show and us talk about that. Maybe we can get Luke. Dave's using it now, and Dave's going to talk about that a little bit tonight. But yeah, it's great now. So, do you got anything else you want to say? I'd love to get into C-Scope, but if you got more to say on it, let's.
It's just what with the Equinox. Yeah, it's just I just get on with it really well. It's so light, it's well balanced. It's super quick. The interface is lovely. It's so simple. You don't have to mess with anything. It goes underwater. Battery life is brilliant. The modes that I've used on it are just super efficient. Beach mode is a dream, as you mentioned earlier. And the pasture mode was great as well. A little bit more understanding and listening needs to be done when you're on the field. Things change ever so slightly, but just got on with it, Mike. So far, just got on with it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's okay to have different opinions. That we might have different opinions. I haven't used it yet, so I don't have a different opinion, but that's okay because. There's a detector here made in the United States that people love, and they found good stuff with it. I'm not even going to mention it. I've mentioned it before, I think. But anyhow, I cannot like that detector. I've tried. As a matter of fact, I've had 3 of them. The last time I bought it, I thought, what am I doing? But the point was I wanted to master it. I wanted to know this detector because, especially in the relic world, people love this detector, and I hate it. I mean, I hate this detector. And I know it finds good stuff. I know it goes deep. I know it's fast and the iron and stuff. But I just, that happens. And what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. Everybody's different in what we like. But
my granddad always said that it would be very, very boring world if we all agreed. And it's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? I think that we all as metal detectorists approach it quite differently. We all have our little quirks, don't we? We all have our little. Some of us love options, and some of us just want simplicity. Some of us just want a box that says yes or no on it. It's. I think it's good that we kind of like have not. It's not even. We're not even having opposing opinions, are we? We're just having different. They're just completely different, is all. And I know that my opinion, I think that most people kind of want what you do. I know a lot of detectorists that really do like to get in and and understand and and really like are concerned about VDI and depth meters and stuff like that. It's just beep, man.
Right. I get that. I like to be able to change it up. I like a detector that it depends on what I'm doing. I mean, I have different, detector has to meet different criteria for the situation. And, because I do some different hunting, and I want some different things at different times depending on what I'm doing. So I'm a little more complex, but that's, that's okay.
Did you have any other Mind Lab? Have you had the E-Track?
Oh man, I I had an E-Track and CTX. I couldn't tell you how many hours I put on those detectors. Now the CTX, I don't know it in and out like I knew an E-Track, but at one point I probably had an E-Track less than a month after they came out. I was a dealer, and I was getting calls from all over the United States, people asking me how to set it up and run it, and I was real well known E-Track guy, and there's still things about it that are brilliant. It's probably one of the best. Not probably. It is one of the best detectors to ID targets. And when here in the United States, when you're talking about, I mostly did field hunting where old houses and stuff that have been gone for over 100 years. That was my thing. But when you get into parks and schools and stuff, they've been hunted for years. And if you're going to go after silver coins, you need something that'll ID those deep coins because they're 6 inches or deeper. And believe it or not, there's a lot of detectors that won't do that. It's actually kind of amazing if you think of where we're at. But the E-Track will properly identify targets incredibly. They'll give you the right depth. That fairgrounds I was telling you about, I found all those silver coins. Every one of them was 6 inches or deeper. But the 0 to 5 inch range, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of targets. I mean, in this small area I hunted, probably the size of a football field or less. And you could spend months there getting rid of the trash and the shallow coins, or I could go in there and know the depth gauge was so accurate I could go after the deep stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that use E-Track, and they all just absolutely just loved it and move on and then go, oh, I wish I'd stuck with the E-Track. But going back to the 800, the other thing is it just feels like an all-rounder with that, with the multi-frequency. It just feels like it can handle everything, so you don't have to consider so much. I just stick it in multi-frequency and off I go, and it seems to deal with the kind of like, the work, if you will, so I can just concentrate on metal detecting. That's why I like it so far. Anyway, I'm looking forward to using the Rutus, and oh man, that blooming machine! I've got it. I'm looking at it right now, and I just haven't had an option. Like, I was supposed to go out and use it today, but my car's broken down. It's just one thing after another, and that's the reason I haven't used it. And I've still got to conclude the 800 video as well. But I'm looking forward to it. Do you know what? I haven't spoken to one person that has said that the Rutus is a bad machine.
Well, you're gonna get that.
I've been out. Obviously, I have not been out for a period of time, as listeners know. I've been out twice in the past 2 weeks with the Rutus, and first and foremost, the targeting system and that is very much similar to the Minelab. Everything is very, very much similar to the one. If you switch on the Rutus, Chris, you'll be, with all the figures and what have you on the digital display. It's just like a similar Minelab. So it suits me perfectly. I used to have a Xterra 705. I've currently got an E-Track, which obviously I've used a lot in the past. But switching it on and starting to use it, it was easy for me with the knowledge of the Minelab to be able to control it. So, it's a dandy machine. It found me something a lot of listeners will probably have had something not dissimilar, but I found a pair of Victorian nutcrackers, and I was well made up with that. My first time back out for quite a period of time.
Bit kinky?
It picked them up easy. Oh, yeah, very kinky. It picked them up easily. It was great. So I can't knock it currently. I'm not as experienced as yourselves or many other listeners, but for somebody with a basic knowledge of metal detectors who doesn't go into the technical side of it, it is a very, very, very easy machine to use. But in the background, there's a lot of things that you can do if you are into the technical side of stuff and have the ability to, or the mindset to work with all the inner workings of it, that makes it a damn sight better as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you just said about it, the 800, isn't it? It's great in its simplest. It's great enough in its simplest form. But if you want to go take it a step further, or even 2 steps further, you have that option behind everything.
Yeah. Nothing I've ever used is as customizable as the Rudis, but right out of the box, it's hard. I say, and this is absolutely true, it took me a long time to do my first review on the Rudis because I didn't feel like I would go out and I would play with some settings, but I was so lazy going right back into the stock programs because they just work. The only thing I did to it, the only major thing I've done to it is change my tones, which is incredible. You can change it. It's the most customizable tone. You can set. It's more customizable than any other detector I've ever used or seen. I mean, there's a wide range. You can have a tone for every VDI point. You can do 1 tone, 3 tone, 2 tone, 5 tone, 10 tone. You can make nickel, or I know our denomination's way different. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, but you could have this coin come in high, this one low. I mean, you can just, and where that's nice, like here in the United States, nickels come in really low. Well, you can make that range come in as a high tone so you don't miss them, because nickels come in a lot where pull tabs and that kind of stuff will come in. It's just brilliant. It is, and there's something really special about that. Now, I got to say, I've only been out with the Amphibio a couple times now since I got it fixed. I told you before the show there was a problem with mine. I didn't even know there was a problem. I didn't know if I hated the detector, there was a problem. And I'll tell you what, the other day when I went out with the Amphibio, it was so impressive, man. It was the first time, like, I felt so connected with it. I was in really trashy ground, and I mean modern trash, and that thing was just weeding through it and finding the coins like nothing. So I'm really excited to get. I'll tell you, I had such a hard time figuring out if there was a problem with it or what was, that it was almost broken to me. Like, the whole idea of the Amphibio was broken to me. And the first time out with it fixed, it did good, and I think I was just in a bad place in my head with it. And I calmed down. I've switched to some other stuff and been going out and metal detecting, and then the other day I'm like, I'm getting the Amphibio out again, and I got to drop this being grumpy over the whole situation. And it was me. It wasn't anybody else's fault. And it was, man, it was impressive. But, I don't have enough time on it now that it's fixed. I've got a ton of time on it when it was broke and driving me crazy. But
yes, it's a perfectly good machine.
Mm-hmm. But
sorry, that sounded really abrupt. No, I had a good time with it. As I said, Deep and 3 were the best modes for me, and I did okay with it. It didn't resonate with me as much as the Equinox 800. I don't know why that is, but that comes down to personal taste. It's just one of those things. I've got Grim Bleeper. You had him on a few weeks ago, I think. He just loves the Nocta Macro brand, and he loves the Amphibio. So it's some people adore it and some people don't. It's horses for courses again.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see. I don't know. It's something that's going to have to be really, really, damn good to kind of pull me away from the me want to marry my 800.
I think the Rudis will do it. I do. Let me tell you a quick story we talked about on Tuesday night show. So Matt also has a Rudis with the 2.0. He's actually got one with the 1.1 or 1.2 as well. He loves the Rudis. Well, he was out the other couple weeks with it, and he got a signal. Oh, well, let me tell you this. Here's something I want to tell you, and I'm curious. I know Tony's got one. He's in chat, and Vincent has a Rudis, and I'm curious if these guys will agree. Something I noticed, like for me, I think it's the sensitivity is like 70 stock. And what I was finding is going up just a little bit for me in my ground conditions, it would start to get chatty. And so at 70, my test garden is 3 dimes. That's it. I've got 3 coins buried. I don't put anything into test gardens other than just a quick, to see what they're doing, and maybe if there's changes I could make. I don't put much stock into that at all, but it is for my own personal experience. Well, so I couldn't get the 10 I've got one at 6 inches, 8 inches, and 10 inches. And stock 70, I couldn't pick up the 10-inch dime. When I cranked up the sensitivity, it was starting to get a little chatty, but I could easily pick it up. And then I backed it off and I got it. Well, something that just, I don't know why it really struck me, because you're not going to get more depth, but you're going to hear it better. I went back down to stock 70 sensitivity and I cranked my volume gain up. And I could nail that it sounded beautiful. Well, when Matt went out with the 2.0 first, I said, run it to where it's stable. And I said, crank your volume gain up. And so he did. And he called me, and he didn't find much that day. He went to a site they pounded with. I mean, it's had every detector over it. But he got a signal, and he's digging and digging and digging. And he goes, Mike, I would have almost given up on it, but I had to see what it was. At two pinpointers depth, the new MindLab 35 pinpointer.
18 inches. Yeah, 18 inches.
He hit a button smaller than a dime. And he's like, no way. There's no, and I've hunted with Matt quite a bit. Matt's doesn't exaggerate. He's real good. He's not one of those guys that's going to find something that's 6 inches and claim it's 8 or 10 inches. I mean, he said, I know I didn't drop it in the hole because I was, it wasn't going deeper. He said, because my pinpointer wouldn't pick it up at all, wouldn't pick it up. Then I started to pick it up, and he goes, Mike, I was 2 pinpointers depth deep. And I found that button, and he was blown away. And I believe him. Now that could, we also know that sometimes a detector will just hit that one signal really good. I mean, every detector I've had has amazed me at something that I don't think it can do that every time. And I'd be hard, for me, it'd be hard for me to wrap my mind around that thing could find those targets everywhere that deep, because that is extreme depth.
I think something else we have to consider when we're talking about the Amphibio, the Equinox 800, and the Rutus, is the Rutus is about 300 quid cheaper than both of them. It's a lot cheaper, and it seems to be like it's punching with the with that kind of we're going to call it's not even a mid-range anymore. It's like there's almost another category there, isn't there? It's like the high to mid-range. It seems like it can easily keep up with those machines, and it's doing well. Again, like I said earlier, I haven't heard anybody say a bad thing about the Rutus, and that's why I'm really, really looking forward to it. But to do that, I have to have the Equinox pried from my dead hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoying
the Rutus will do it. If the Amphibio didn't do it, the Rutus will do it. I believe that strongly. Now, you're not going to beach hunt with the Rutus, but we talk about different tools. I suspect, and maybe I'm wrong. I think the Rutus will tear it up in the fields. I do. Do you got the 2.0 version?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've set it up. As I said, it's sitting here now, and I really like the weight of it. It's not a heavy machine at all, and it feels nice in the hands. And I love that button underneath it as well. That's nice. Mm-hmm. And I've looked at it, and I've gone through it. It's like, it seems simple enough to set up. I've gone through Luke's video as well, so I think I've got all that.
Do you know, I was out on Saturday at the top of a hill, thinking, are these settings right? And I was online on YouTube watching Luke's videos to get it right.
Yeah. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. And then after that, I think that's it. I can't review any more machines.
So,
not for a while.
The C-scope you'd be again, I've been lucky to acquire recently the CS440XD C-scope, which is a beginner's pack, which I think you've looked at personally.
Yeah, Can we talk about the retro thing, Dave?
Certainly, no problem.
Yes. So
hold on, real quick, guys. I want to say one thing. Vincent said you'd love the Deep Tech Vista series. I think when you were talking about simple, we're going to have Deep Tech on here sometime. I'm not quite sure when, but we will have them on.
Okay.
So anyway, the retro thing, you've contacted them. You've acquired some older machines to tally against today's.
This kind of links in with what we've been speaking about as well. And like to conclude, I think what we were talking about there, Mike, I think it's important. Sometimes I think that we get a little bit too involved with the science of things, and we kind of like forget the elephant in the room, which is luck. I've always said it's probably about 80% luck, and then it's about 10% your machine, and then maybe 5% research, and et cetera, et cetera. We know that it's predominantly a luck-based game. Now, just to compound that slightly, we did the last thing over Christmas. We did the last podcast over Christmas, and Dave said everybody started talking about C-scope. I think Harry iDetect started saying that he had an R1, and everyone was kind of like remembering and reminiscing fondly over the old C-scope machines. So I wrote up C-scope and said, like, look, have you guys got any of the really old machines? Pretty much the first metal detectors that existed, because they patented and they were the first people to have audio discrimination. They actually invented that. I didn't know that. And they've got these old machines from 1984 lying about. So I was like, oh my God. And these things look like something from the early 80s. You could lean that up against a Space Invaders machine or a Pac-Man machine, and it wouldn't look out of place. And the graphics and the text are so 80s. It's like Stranger Things. And so yeah, I went out. I went out with the 990B, I think, which was their first ever detector, I think. Don't quote me on that. And I found coins and I found buttons. And so then I went out to 1220B, which was also released in 1984, and I found coins and buttons and buckles. You can check those videos out on C-Scope's YouTube channel. And it's just compounded. For me personally, we know that technology's moved on really, really quick. It's ridiculous to say that those machines are as good as anything modern. Of course, we've got more depth now. We've got way more discrimination, and we've got tons more options concerning frequencies.
Chris, can I ask you something real quick? Do we only have you for a few more minutes?
No. I'm cool.
Okay, good. Keep going.
Yeah. No, I'm cool. So I found all of those items which I'd be happy to find with a modern machine. And now I'm just kind of thinking, wow, do we think, is it really, really, really that important how good a metal detector is? Because luck is so much more important. And I've now boosted my kind of luck level to 90%, and it's 5% the machine. And it's but I've really, really enjoyed using those machines. It's been crazy, and sometimes you want to pull your hair out, but I've really enjoyed it. And I did find things, guys. I found buckles, and I found musket balls, and I found buttons and coins. You can't grumble.
Okay, I got to jump in here because this is right up my alley. This is actually something I'm really passionate about. Everybody hears me on the shows every week talking about the Amphibio and the Rudis and all these new detectors and the ORX and everything else, which I just want to say real quick. Oh, excuse me, Matt. He hasn't even been out with the Amphibio yet. Okay, so I'm going to say that. He loves the Rudis. Matt does, that does the Tuesday night podcast with me. But I think, and he hasn't even said this, but talking to him, I think he's most impressed with the ORX right now.
That's the XP machine.
Yeah, he's very impressed. And we've got a gentleman on. Here's another thing I'll tell our UK listeners, and I'm hoping to incorporate him into the UK show. There's a guy out of the United States who is a heck of an accomplished detectorist. Incredible. He's been metal detecting since '69, and although he has these incredible finds over the years and still making them on a regular basis, what he loves about the hobby is the technology and using different detectors and he's used hundreds, not 100, not 50, hundreds of metal detectors and over the years. And he talks educated about them better than anybody. He makes me look like a dummy. I'm sorry. He just does. And, but anyhow, we had him on the show for the ORX, and, he was, I would say a lot of people's opinions on, excuse me, guys, on the ORX is, it's kind of a dummied down, Deus. And George Kinsey, if you want to go back and listen to shows, you got some time, you want to download something for the car ride, go to All Metal Mode and look up any of our like 4 or 5 shows with George Kinsey. He's a very great guy. But George said, it's not, he said, it's simple. He said one of the things he didn't like about the Deus is it was overcomplicated and you had to do this and do that and adjust this. And he didn't like that. He thought it was too complicated. He said where the ORX just kind of gets it done. It's got what you need and it gets it done. Well, Matt got it and he's really impressed. But okay, so we talk about all that. I got off the subject. I love some of these simple detectors. Tesoro here in the United States, which I think they're Laser over in the UK. It's the same company. Yeah. I can take a $250 Tesoro like Mojave, and I can field hunt up against some of the best detectors, some of the most talked about recent detectors out in the market, and I would put money down. I'm going to stay with you or even do better. They're an analog detector. They handle iron better than most detectors. Now, I've kind of gotten away from them. I still have a few because I can use like the Amphibio. It has the iron volume, and I like to be able to listen to the iron and not at a lower volume and still run the detector wide open. It's not even that these newer detectors are better than that older technology. It's that they kind of accomplish the same thing a little bit easier, if that makes sense. But you're talking, there's nothing out there probably under $500 that's going to do the same thing that little $250 detector can do. Now, when you get up into the $700-800 range, they'll do them, but probably not even any better. I'm a huge fan of, I've been metal detecting for over 20 years. My very first detector had a VDI and a depth gauge. And it actually took me probably 7-8 years before I even considered something that didn't have a VDI, it wasn't a VDI detector. But there's so much going on in tones, and you don't always need all that. Well, everybody that we have on this show, I swear they started off with a C-scope. Some of them still use them and stuff. And I just had to know what it was about. And I got the 6MXI. Now, I have probably an hour on it. I'm still working on the Amphibio, but I had to take it out with me the other day. And it has everything I would want for a field detector, because here in the United States, our biggest problem is iron. We fight the iron. When you find an old house site, I don't care if it was gone in 1850s. I mean, you could take a shovelful and you're going to have 20 square cut nails and all that. So it's kind of a mess. And you need something that works through the iron. That's way more important than VDI and all the rest. Well, the 6MXI is a 3-tone with iron volume and also disc volume. And like I've said for years, I wish Tesoro would make at least a 2-tone where you can, one of the tones is iron and you can adjust the volume for it and run that detector. And that's exactly what you can do with this 6MXI. So far, I'm impressed. So I didn't have it set up right. I didn't know how the disc worked. My very first target was about 6 inches down, and it was the end off of a pull tab, just a little piece. So right off the bat, although it was completely junk, I'm like, whoa, that's deep. That's deep on that. That was really impressive to me. And once I got it set up right, I started finding coins. Without a VDI, I'm finding coins mixed in with a ton of trash. There's a ton of iron in this field I was at. Now, I was at a grass field there. It wasn't hunting a farm field. So this a lot of modern trash mixed in with old iron and stuff from where a site used to be. And but it's been in use for the last 100 and some years, so there's a lot of modern trash. But man, that thing was lightning fast. It worked good. It's well balanced. The handle, you can actually adjust where you want it. I love the handle. Well, what I first did, I set it up where I thought I wanted it. And then as I'm swinging, I realized I needed it adjusted, and I ended up adjusting it out. And you can adjust it side to side. And without looking, I just adjusted where it was comfortable. When I got down, if you looked down the shaft to the coil, I had it slightly bent to the right. And it just was perfect. It just worked great. But first impressions, just absolutely super, super impressed.
I used that machine for years, and I've got over 30 hammers with that machine, and I absolutely adore it. I really, really do. I think the best way to describe what I feel about that is there was a guy in my old metal detecting club. His name was Bernie, and he'd been detecting for about 40 or 50 years.
Wow.
And he had a C-scope 3MX, so he had them he way back. He was one of the first guys that started detecting in this blooming country. But he stopped at the C-scope 3MX, and the 3MX is seen as a lesser machine than the 6MX to 4MX, and it's kind of like aimed at beginners to amateurs. And everyone's saying to Bernie, get a Deus, get a 3030, get this, get that, get this, get that. But he would always clean up on digs with that machine because he was so in tuned with it. It was like a part of him. And obviously, technically, that machine doesn't stand up to other more modern machines. But because Bernie was so, he understood it so well, and he would just listen for the break in threshold. He'd run it so the threshold was just, you could hear it, and then you just listen instead of like a beep, which most people listen for a beep and then dig that. This was a break in a threshold, and it's so kind of subtle and so in the background, and he'll know that something's there, and he would go painfully slow. He would know he would do his research about land. He would like look at the old maps. We all do that, but he would really go into it quite. He was a bit of a geek with it, and then pick an area and just painfully swing backwards and forwards slowly, and the guy would clean up. And I don't know. I haven't spoken to Bernie for about 5 or 6 years because I come out of that club, and I can't imagine that he would have moved to any other machine. Because why? Why would you? If you're doing well with a machine, if it's producing for you and you understand it and it understands you, why do we need to change to the next greatest machine that comes out?
Well, look, let me say this: the technology has moved along. It has.
It has, yeah.
But leaps and bounds, no. And can these old detectors or can they still be relevant? Absolutely. Here's a really funny story. I don't think you guys use them a whole lot over there, but White's has a pretty big following here in the United States. I think for the most part they're outdated. I think they're the next company to go. What I see coming out of Europe and stuff is much more advanced. But anyhow, the DFX, when it come out, it was so hot. It was such a hot detector. I tried one, and it to me it was just like, you guys haven't used a mine lab. You haven't used this or that, because these things are... I just wasn't a fan. I really wasn't. And this was told to me by a guy that was there that had a DFX. He went to this DFX... They used to call him DFX Hunt DFX only hunts. That's how, I mean, the whites people tend to be a little bit snooty. You know what I mean? Like who has a hunt that you can only bring this detector, right? But anyhow, so they went, and somehow this older guy come in with an old whites detector. It had a meter. If you know, it was a blue. You know, I mean, this thing is ancient, and it's got a meter. And they were all kind of. It had duct tape on it. There were places where had tape holding it together and stuff. And these people behind his back were kind of laughing and making fun and stuff. Well, at the end of the hunt, he had gone in there. They were at a big Boy Scout camp that went back to the early 1900s, and he just cleaned them out, man. This guy came back with so much silver, you know, so it just made them all just stop, you know, and felt silly about making fun of him. But, you know, there's people out there still doing that. There's a guy I know of, I don't know him personally, hunts with an old Fisher detector, a single tone detector, and I know a guy that hunts with him that's hunting with a CTX, and he goes, Mike, this guy will kick my butt. Yeah. And this guy knows his CTX. So, you know, there's, you know, just like the C-scopes, they don't have, and Deep Tech. You know, I think Deep Tech has some, but some of them they don't. You know, you guys that look at that, if you're newer to the hobby and you look at that and you discount it, you're really not. I think you're looking at it wrong. You know, you got to understand these. They still are relevant and can still do it. I think when I get to know I'm trying to talk here. It ain't really working. The 6MXI that messes me up every time. I'm gonna love that detector, and I think it will be. I think it absolutely will be my go-to field detector. It's super lightweight. You can take the control housing off, and you can hip mount it. When you're hunting in the fields and banging up against stuff, you want the lighter the better, and there's not going to be anything lighter with that housing off. But it's super well balanced and comfortable just the way it is mounted on the shaft. But the way it was working in the iron the other day, oh my God. I don't think any new detector, any detector with a VDI screen has anything on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think that you're going to really, really get on with that machine, Mike. I think that it's you all over. It's analog, isn't it? And it's just it's so quick as well. That's another thing about the 6MX.
Yes,
it's really, really quick for what it is. It's a great machine. As I said, I used it for how many years did I use it for? A lot of years, and I got the Amphibio, the Gold Max Power, the Amphibio, and the 800. So there's a new guy. His name's Jack. Hello, Jack. I know you're listening, bud. He kind of like he's part of our little group now, and he's kind of he's just getting into the hobby. So I said, like, use my 6MX for a little while. You're not having it because it's my 6MX, and that's always going to be my backup machine.
Right.
And first hunt he went out with it. He's only a young lad. He found a hammered coin.
Oh wow!
People can go a lifetime without finding hammered coins. Goes out second hunt with us, finds another hammered coin. Goes out third hunt, found a badge from the 1700s. Right, and this badge is lovely. This military badge, and then we go out for it was on Sunday. Yeah, went out on Sunday. He got another blooming hammered coin. Couldn't believe it. And it's just like
that's amazing.
I think that says it all. And we're trying to explain to this guy, you know, Jack. We're trying to say, like, look, this isn't normal. This doesn't happen.
Right.
It's unless you're in like an area that's got tons of hammered coins. It's like some people are in areas that have loads of Roman coins, and then all the other people around the country are going like, well, I haven't found one. It's the same with hammered coins. You'll find people will find them all the time, or other people will never find any. We're kind of in the middle there. They are rare here, and to find that many in that succession is pretty much unheard of. And he did that with the 6MX, and I think that says it all. Personally, it's a great machine. It really is. I love it.
Let me ask you this, Chris. When I first said that I was getting the 6MXI and stuff, there were a couple people that said, "Oh, they're not very deep detectors." like I said, my very first target was a tiny piece of aluminum at like 6 inches deep. To me, that was impressive because of the size. And it nailed it. I mean, there was no issue hearing it. It sounded amazing. Do you think that they're not very deep, or do people just not know what they're talking about? Because I find that hard to believe that they won't go deep when it found that. It just nailed that 6-inch piece of aluminum like nothing.
They're not stupidly deep. They're not stupidly deep. They're not as deep as like the Equinox or the Amphibio, but they're deep enough. I can't remember. I did do a depth test. I can't remember, but it was never a problem enough for me to want to go and buy another machine. I seem to remember finding stuff at 9-10 inches quite comfortably, and that's okay with me. 9 or 10 inches is fine with me. I don't. You get people that are like, oh, this machine will find stuff at 18, 19, 20 inches. I don't want to bloody dig a hole 18, 19, 20 inches.
For the most part, I don't. I think that there's a lot of exaggeration going on. Just like Matt with the Rudis finding that coin or that button. Matt didn't believe it, and Matt was kind of backwards at talking about that the other night. He kind of downplayed the depth some because he didn't want to be called out, and he knew that was extreme. But I've hunted with the guy. He I believe him, and but again, I think that was more of a fluke. I do. I think it was all the perfect conditions. We'll see.
You got me slightly wrong. I kind of mean that it's all very well finding a nice item at 18 inches. Okay, that's great. Finding a button or a coin, or it's brilliant when you do. But my point is what about all of the other items which sounded like another nice item but weren't a nice item at 18 inches? Mm-hmm. It's great when you find the item you're looking for at 18 inches. Right. What about the ring pull? What about the awful button? What about the coin of nothingness?
Yeah.
What about, I don't want to be digging that stuff at 18 inches.
Right.
Because it's going to kill me, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I've talked to people, though, the point I'm trying to make, I don't know if I made it right. I was out with a guy recently who told me with his AT Pro, he consistently hits dimes at 14 inches, 12, 14 inches. And I can tell you right now, he's not. I'm not saying he's even exaggerating. I think he's not realizing that he's only at 6 or 8 inches. You know what I mean? Because that's just not. I've used an AT Pro. I've dug and dug and dug with it. Never found dimes consistently. That stuff doesn't even get that deep where we hunt.
No. I think there's a psychological bias, isn't there? I think that if someone buys something, it's almost like they're so desperate for it to be as good as they thought it was, and the reason that they bought it, they're like, yeah, it is really, really good. I love it. And in that is the kind of slight exaggeration, the adding of 1 or 2 or 3 inch.
Yeah,
and it's in most cases it's probably sincere. It's not. They're not doing it to be, because they're liars. They just so want to believe it so much.
Right.
There's probably a bit of that in there.
I can tell you with that little piece of aluminum I found the other day at 6 inches and how it sounded, time will tell. But I would be surprised if it wouldn't keep up with any other detector I've used on depth. And maybe I'm wrong, and you know more than me, and you're telling me maybe it's not as deep as those. So I got to take that into account. But I've got detectors. I've got good detectors and expensive that I don't think would have found that little piece of aluminum at 6 inches.
It's not obviously as deep. So what I mean by that is, how do I word this? So you get a lot of people that they review, for example, the 6MX, and they'll go out with it, and they went out of it, and they were just like, oh yeah, it's okay, yeah, it's good, it goes at this depth, and we like this machine, and they used it for 2 weeks, for example. I'm not for that. You've got to use a machine for ages. My advice to you would be, when you use the machine, just really tune your ear into, just what's going on. Really kind of become one with it almost. Mm-hmm. then you're going to get more depth out of it, because sometimes you get some real subtle things going on in the background, and you've got to take notice of them. Then you're going to get as much depth as any other machine. But if you're just going to go for the sincere beep, the three-tone beep, the grunt, the mid, and the low, just going to go for them, then depth isn't as great. But just listen for the subtle nuances and become a little bit more connected. You'll get more out of it.
I got a question for you. As a musician, I'm guessing as a musician, you really notice the different nuances on like the C-scope?
Because of the sound, you mean?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think so. I think that perhaps as a musician, maybe my ear's a little bit more tuned in.
Absolutely, I believe in that 100%.
And I think coming back to the 800, I think that's why I don't screen watch, and the Amphibia I don't screen watch. I listen. I'm a listener. I like to tune in to sound more than I do, something that's visual. It's a lot more potent for me. But again, other people are completely the opposite way. They want to see what's going on the screen. But very much so. I believe that.
What I was going to say is I don't have the hearing to hear the nuances like a musician does. And I know, I know some musicians who they're really successful detectorists, and I believe a lot of that success is their ears. I really do, because they can hear those, whether they're using a VDI detector or not, whatever they're using, they can hear those little nuances in the signal. But what I was getting at is I put a quarter. I was just in the house. Of course, I'm not putting much into this. When I got it, I put it together and I turned it on and set it up. And I ran, one of the problems we have over here is bottle caps, steel bottle caps, man. Those things will drive you crazy. Okay. Even my rudest, man, that's one thing that sometimes it'll drive me crazy, because I'll even get good numbers. Well, anyhow, I ran over a quarter. I've got a little tub sitting by the front door of fines I throw in there, my change and my junk, and then I'll go through it and I'll throw everything away and stuff. But when I first come home, it comes out of my bag and into there. Well, so I do this quarter, and it's just won't. It sounds great. I can't describe it or very well, or definitely not do it right. But then there was a rusty bottle cap there, and I just thought, I wonder how that's going to sound. And I got a high tone, but at the edges, at each edge as I went over, there was a thump, almost like a thumping sound that was obvious to me, different from my quarter. So I really liked that. And just, another one, when I was detecting the other day, and keep in mind, I have less than an hour on this thing, but I went over a target that was high tone, beautiful, with a loud, just a thump on the end. That's on each edge. I could hear it, and I thought, whoa, that's really weird. I'm going to dig that. And it was a big chunk of iron. Well, any detector will be fooled by iron. But
that big,
But I knew something was up, because this sounded way different than some of the other. So I really think, and time will tell, that even I, that doesn't have the best hearing, I will really be able to tell the nuances and what's going on. And I like that.
Wrong sound what? Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Mike. And with the 6MX, you can't really go wrong with the tone. It's such a nice high trill. It's not such a nice high ping, But it's not like musically. Yeah, I agree. But just a high ping which is just beneath it type thing, Or you're listening to a high ping which is like, oh, that's beautiful. But if you just hear a slight grunt on the 6, just a little bit of a grunt in there as well, you can pretty much, it's pretty much going to be lead. It's just great. I think tonally, it's the best machine I've used tonally, because it's so.
I can see that.
I think it's mixed together. Like the Gold Max Power, great machine, but tonally it gets mixed together. The Amphibio and the Equinox 800, love them, but again, tonally, I had to learn. I had to kind of readjust my ear, especially with the Equinox 800, to understand what was what. Where the 6MX is just so simple and pure, ping, right there,
Yeah.
and like if not, and then you've got the mid tone. It's anybody can use it, and I think that's another great thing. The machine, it's so accessible. Anybody can pick it up and use it, as Jack has shown. I think it's lovely, and I will go back to it. I will go back to that machine.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun, and I think that will ultimately be my my field. I suspect. I don't want to speak so soon. Something else I want to. I'm guessing we're getting close to wrapping up. We'll get Dave back on here in a second, but something I wanted to say. I mentioned earlier I'm not a big fan of MindLab, the company and stuff, and there's hey, things happen. But I do want to say I am getting an 800 at least to use for a bit. I'm getting it off a buddy, and no matter my feelings, I will talk about it honestly. I still talk highly of the E-Track and CTX. Not a fan of the company, but I will not trash their equipment based on my feelings toward the company. Because I will still tell you, the E-Track is one of the best detectors I've ever used for coins. I think it's limited. To me, it's a very limited detector. It's probably still, even over the CTX, I think it's better because it ID'd coins better. You got a little more bleed through on the CTX, dime and quarter, dime and penny. The E-Track, I didn't see that, and most people that have ran them both agree with me. Matter of fact, I think anybody I've talked to will agree with me, even people we've had on the podcast. But I still think the E-Track is one of the best coin detectors. But when you get into relics and stuff, no. And from my understanding, like the CTX is really popular over there.
Oh yeah.
If it's really popular in fields, I wouldn't get that. I wouldn't understand that one bit. I think there's a lot better detectors for iron. I think there's better, deeper detectors. The E-Track and CTX are very heavy. I think that there's detectors that would get better depth, better separation, handle the iron better and stuff than E-Track or CTX. So I've heard that it's really popular over there, and I've never really understood that because I think most of you, not all, are hunting in fields, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The majority, yeah, and it is absolutely popular over here. It's and people do really, really well with it. My friend, one of my good mates, Mark, he has an E-Track, he has a Deus, and he has a 3030, and he's been detecting for years. And at the moment, I think that his machine, the go-to machine, is the 3030, and it was the E-Track for many, many years. And he kind of he's still a bit iffy with the Deus. He keeps on trying it, but he kind of seems to keep on coming back to the 3030. But there's so many ways you can set it up, isn't there? It comes down to what I was kind of talking against earlier is options. There's things you can do and different programs you can use. But I don't know anything about companies. I haven't been doing this as long as you, Mike. So I don't really get involved with what how companies kind of act. I don't really understand it that much. So this is my first experience with MindLab. I don't know anything about MindLab other than my mates use their really good machines and they cost lots of money. That's it. That's all I know about MindLab.
And you know what? Really, that's all. That's all anybody should know. As a dealer and having to deal with them firsthand and stuff, I was really let down by them. They did some really poor things. One thing I'll say, here in the United States, I doubt you guys have them over there. We have like Cabela's. They are these huge outdoor stores. Okay, I mean huge chain across the country, and they push Cabela's, and they, of course they sell them in Cabela's, and they'll have like different events at Cabela's and stuff, and What about the little guy? What about the little guy who's pushing your detector? You know, Cabela's don't care what they sell. They could care less. And I'm sure that they move a lot of detectors, but what about the little dealer that's out showing your customers how to use them and make sure that they'll keep coming back to MindLab and stuff? They're a big conglomerate. I mean, they are. I think the company that owns them owns like 30. It's like a group of like 20 or 30 some companies. And they just, you know, if you pay attention, I don't think they care about us, you know, and I could go on, and I'm done there because it's still a sore subject to me. It is really a sore subject.
Does sound like you've had negative experience, buddy, and I can completely understand and sympathise with your, you know, why you feel that way. Absolutely, yeah. But you know, it's like I don't know, it's just. But again, you know, this is my first experience, and it's
well. In the end, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'll tell you, with my feelings on MindLab, if I found out the 800 worked really good, excuse me, I would own one. You know, because if that's what fits my needs the best, I would have no problem owning one, even after my experiences, because what I think about the company or my experience with the company is totally different within their technology. You know, I'm sure I've still sold E-Tracks because I talk so highly of the E-Track, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I just, the company is, you know, Tony in here said, I agree, Mike, they don't even answer their emails. Yeah. I mean, their customer service is pretty different than, what you'll find with most of them and stuff like that. But it's very, I mean, I've just had one after another, like, and I just got to where, you know what, I don't care. If somebody asks me what I think of MindLab, I'll tell them. I'm done with them. I'm absolutely done with how they've treated me, how they've treated dealers, how they've treated their customers. And so, but you know, that shouldn't stop anybody from buying an 800 if that's what works for them.
No, that's it. I mean, it's I'll say it again. It's my first experience, and I can't, as a metal detector, you know, I don't have the frame of reference you have concerning them as a brand and the experience that you've had. So I can only go on my own kind of.
Well, that doesn't, you know, nobody should not buy one because of my experience.
No, I understand. You know, but we build our opinion through how we're treated in life. It doesn't matter if it's a brand or other people or anything. And you know, it's like how you feel about like MindLab is similar, but not as potent as you feel, as I feel about Garrett, for example.
Yeah.
I just, man, I will not touch that brand. I will never ever use one of their products again, just because I've had 3 of their pointers, and their pointers, they've all died. And each time I've tried to email somebody, nobody got back to me. So that's it. You're done.
Yeah,
the door is shut on you. And I completely sympathise with how you feel about MindLab. And it just takes a little bit of bad customer service, and that's them tainted. And you know, I know for a fact that the AT Pro and all of those machines are fantastic machines, but just through my kind of like sheer bloody mindedness, because of what happened with my pointers, I'll never open a door. That's shut.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
It's got.
Right. Well, I'll tell you something. Garrett went through a little time of bad customer service. I live in Texas, where Garrett's are made. Matter of fact, I'm less than I believe I'm less than an hour from Garrett. And I'll tell you what, man. Texas
are they're part of your family.
Oh yeah. No. But let me tell you something. You don't live in Texas and say a bad thing about Garrett. I mean, those are fighting where Texas are proud people, you know. And Garrett, but what I saw happen a couple years ago is some Texas people who loved Garrett were getting rid of him. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Well, I had an issue, got a hold of Garrett, and they wouldn't take care of it, or couldn't even get a hold through. I'm not going to, I mean, when you make Texans upset and you're a Texas company that people love, well, they've changed that. Something was going on, and they went through a quick spell of having some issues. Now, since then, I've heard over and over and over some really good things and how they've gone above and beyond. But
I hear that too. I do hear that. I've heard like really, really good positive things. And some of my favourite like metal detectorists, just absolutely like Digger Dawn and Nugget Noggin are, they love the Garrett brand. So that feels strange to me. So I think I might have just got unlucky. It could have been, but it just, I don't know. So I had those three pointers, and I think the first one died, and I didn't bother emailing, and then the second one died, and I think I did. And the third one died, and it had the exact same problem as the second one. So I emailed again. I just didn't get anything back. It was just like, oh, okay, then yeah, you're done. You're absolutely done. And this is the first time I've ever said anything about Garrett. That's been kind of like, I've never said. I'm not even amongst my friends do I speak about, how I feel about Garrett. But it's similar to it just takes one bad experience, and then that whole brand is tainted. It doesn't matter what they do after that. If there are any brands listening to this, pay attention to this, because it's really, really important how we feel, when we're parting with our money. It comes back to what I said at the beginning of this conversation, Mike. It has to work, it has to work. No messing about. If I'm going to part with my money, and let's be honest, I don't believe in the class system anymore, but metal detecting is predominantly a working class thing, then we don't have much money, so you better work. Well, we remember,
right? And something, that's one of the things I love about Nocta Macro is I feel like they care about the customers. They're working their butt off to be the best. I think they're very innovative. I think we're just on the tip of what's to come. Rudis, I don't think Rudis will ever make it to be a metal detecting household name, but I'm going to tell you what, there's something special going on there. And I would love to see Rudis get to the United States, man. I think, it's hard to break into this market, but if people could see what that detector's capable of, oh my God.
It's like the Beatles all over again, isn't it, Mike? Just don't say you're big. Just don't say you're bigger than Jesus.
Aaron said, Dialect is what you love about Nocta Macro. I've got a little crush, but that's not it.
I didn't have. I thought the Amphibio was a good machine, right? It did not blow my socks off like the Equinox 800 has. But what has blown my socks off about Nocta Macro is Dialect, and it is the way that they will bend over backwards, and that now if you're going to judge a customer service and if you're going to use a framework, then you nod towards Nocta and Macro, and you nod towards C-Scope, because they have those two companies especially have the best customer service as far as I'm concerned. And Dialect is such a great communicator. And I love what they're doing with the brand. I think that they're so forward thinking and they're moving so quickly. I just think they can do a little bit better than the Amphibio. I really believe that. Sometimes I feel like they're moving too quickly and they're releasing too many machines. It's like here comes a Racer and Racer 2 and Impact and Cruiser and Amphibio, and the Amphibio isn't that much different to the Cruiser. It's not that much different. It's like work on something which is completely different and new and fresh, and spend
hold on. Let me say this though.
Time maybe.
Let me say this, because I know that's been quite an issue with people. They're moving too fast. They're not different enough. Keep in mind, although I have a lot of hours on the Amphibio, I don't have a lot of hours since I got the new head unit. But first off, it's deeper. I love my multi-cruiser, love it. The coil that's on the Amphibio is a lot better. It's deeper. It's a whole new thing for me. That coil is. I'll tell you, if you have a multi-cruiser and you don't want to spend the money to update, which I totally get, buy the Amphibio coil. It'll make that detector come alive. The shaft and all that is laid out so much better. I love the design of that. I like that the arm cuff is adjustable on the fly. I don't have to use a screwdriver. But I think it's deeper. You've got a couple more programs that I like. Then you've got how you change the audio. I love so the multi-cruiser has it's got an iron audio. You can lower the volume on the iron, where the Amphibio, you can change the volume on each. So if you're in 3-tone, you could have iron down to 0 or 1 or wherever you want. You could have your mid-tones at a 2 or 3 and then your high tones at a 5. And I think that's a huge improvement over just the iron audio.
Could you do that with the Cruiser?
What's that?
Could you not do that with the Cruiser?
No, on the Cruiser you could simply change the iron audio wherever you had your first group set, your first tone break, let's say, so like 0 to 15. You could change the tone on that. And where this you can change it in the different ranges. Another thing, and one of the reasons, one of the tests that I wanted to do, and I really wanted to do it this morning, when I was out the other day with the Amphibio, I think somehow I believe it's processing signals even faster than the multi-cruiser. So I want to go out with my multi-cruiser and verify that, because it's been a while since I've used it. I've been on the Amphibio and then the Rudis 2.0, but I want to go out and confirm that. So now with what I just said, let's go to this. There's companies, especially here in the United States, I don't know the market over in the UK as much, that are literally changing the name, adding a letter or number to the back side of the detector, coming out looking the same, or maybe even it has a different paint scheme. And they've added a letter to it and nothing's changed, and that's a brand new detector. So when you're that's what I'm used to here in the United States. Or it's got a different coil, or there's a coil. One company offers a coil option now, and they're trying to run it as a brand new detector. Well, it's got a new name. It's got a something added to the back of it. So when you're talking in that aspect, I think the Amphibio is quite a bit different. And, another thing, you're looking at a few $100s more. So the guys who are saying, well, I just got the multi-cruiser, well, you're talking about something cheaper came out before the more expensive detector. And yes, they share some things, but the Amphibio is different. In my personal opinion, it is definitely different enough that I don't think it was. I don't think that you can say that it's the same detector, especially for what's going on over here in the United States. I mean, you look at the AT Pro I've got friends who love the new AT Max, but I've also got people. I haven't used one yet who say the AT Gold, it's very similar to a Gold, really similar, and have given me the reasons and stuff. So, I mean, they're not doing anything different than anybody else does. But I like the changes. You put the Cruiser up against the Amphibio, and I think the Amphibio is worth it. And I see the differences for sure. But it's also in a different price range. So it's not like they come out with the Cruiser and then within $50 or $100 they came out with another one right after. No, it's in its own price range.
It is. I do get your point, and I do understand what you're saying. It's just that I don't know. It just feels like I don't know. Things are moving very, very, very quickly within that company. And I mean, the Simplex is coming out soon, isn't it? And
right.
I think the most exciting thing about and it puts a lot of people off, and a lot of people, I think you'll hate it, but it's implementing the Averio technology into hobbyist machines. So is it the Averio? I think it is. Yeah, it's the £10,000 machine, which actually gives you you can see what's going on with the spectrogram and the graphs and the colours and things. And that's supposedly, Dilek was telling me that's going to come into hobbyist machines in the next couple of years. And I think that would be a game changer, an absolute game changer. And if they just concentrate on, I don't know, Mike. I just feel like there's using those machines from 1984, right? Mm-hmm. The technology hasn't moved on that quickly.
It hasn't. But none of them have moved. I mean, none of the manufacturers. But let me say this too.
I know. Can I just finish that? My point was, I was just going to say that I just feel like there's something big round the corner concerning metal detecting. I think there's going to be a big change soon. I just feel it in my waters, old chap. Sorry, go on.
What I was going to say is another thing that I like about how fast they're moving, and I think this is the difference between, I don't know, I feel like here in the United States that's pretty well accepted, and overall in the UK it's not. But we're in a country that you've got the same manufacturers that have been around forever, and we're lucky to see a new detector every 5 years. And usually there's a ton of hype, and it comes out, and it's really no different. Yeah. I mean, that happens over and over and over. There's one company that it's just like, what are you doing? How do you come out 5 years later, you added 2 letters to the back of the name, it's the same damn detector painted different, and you got everybody hyped up that something new's coming.
That's
when you take that, yeah, and we wait. People have been waiting for 5 years. They have us dedicated, and you're seeing people starting to move and realize what's going on over in Europe and stuff. I mean, AKA, man, I hear some great things about them and Deep Tech and C-Scope and Nocta Macro's really starting to come along here. I think, if we could get Rudis over here, or Rudis on something, maybe not the 71, I think it would blow people away because we're used to that. You see, we're used to, look at MindLab. They had the Explorer XS. A few years later, the Explorer SE, then the SE Pro, then, the Explorer 2. There wasn't much. I'll tell you what, I've used every one of the Explorers. Give me the Explorer XS. As far as I'm concerned, the very first Explorer to come out was the best, and I've used them all extensively. So we kept seeing it, MindLab every few years, and then 5 years, from the E-Track to the CTX, I think was about 5 years. I think from the CTX to the Equinox now. Now that is a big change. They were getting more expensive and heavier and more cumbersome, and now they come out with this lightning fast, lightweight 800. Good for them. And they come down in a price range that's where all the competition is right now, where everybody wants to be. And so I think that, so Amphibio coming out in a couple $100 price range difference, that doesn't bother me. I'm glad. Keep pumping them out. Let me see what you got. We're tired of the same old crap getting renamed every 3, 4, 5 years here.
Yeah, so. Yeah. No, I completely understand your point there. I think I've kind of I've covered how I felt about it. It just doesn't feel as all I'm just feel that the differences aren't kind of big enough to warrant excitement for me. But going back to what you said about Rootus, the thing is, we've got Nocto Macro, which are a massive company, huge company. Rootus is just they're very small, aren't they? That's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to unless the Rootus gets the Alta gets really popular, and it is very popular, and hopefully that will springboard them to releasing more machines, because they are so sincere, aren't they? They're so sincere. As at the moment, and most companies are sincere in the first instance. Is the problem?
Viola is a sweetheart, man. I've talked to her way more than Eric, because she does that. She's the one who, And she is just a sweetheart, and they love what they're doing. They care about what they're doing.
Mhm.
I'm telling you what, I love Nocta Macro. I hope Dealik's not listening, because that's my crush. But and I'm not going to say that one's better than the other. I'm not going to do that. But I think if you're in the UK, if you're in Europe, and you're and looking for a detector, I think you're almost silly not to look at the at least look at it. That is such an underrated detector. It's and I don't mean this rude, but it's quite a bit less than the Amphibio, and I think at the very least, yeah,
it's about £300 cheaper. Yeah.
So I'm not putting it in the same range as the Amphibio on price and stuff, but I think. It just, from all the different detectors I've used over the years, and seeing what's going on in the United States and stuff, to me, and I mean no disrespect to any of the other manufacturers, the ORX guys are loving it here, and XP's a great company, and the Mind Labs, they are very popular, and guys, I don't understand anybody over there not running a Rudis. Or at least not going down and seeing the dealer that has them, going seeing their dealer that has them and trying it out. Because I'll tell you what, there's nothing. I personally don't think there's anything better. I mean, I think there's some stuff is good. Maybe in certain situations, one works a little bit better in certain situations. It's obviously not a water detector. But yeah, I mean, Tony just said Rudis, $600, 600 pounds, 2 coil pack from Detectnics, a bargain, or you just bargain, and it is a hell of a bargain.
Is the coil waterproof?
Yes, coil is waterproof.
Cool, good. That's fine then, isn't it?
Yeah.
The great, I think, in a nutshell, the really good thing to come out of all of this, the fact that Rudis have manifest themselves, and Nocta and Macro have become such hard hitters, is that it's just gonna. Everybody has to step their game up. And them having to step their game up is great for us, the consumers, because we'll get better deals. We're the ones that will benefit from it. And it comes back again. We remember. We blooming remember. We know. We might be working class people, and we might be the bloke off of the street, but none of us are stupid.
Right.
When it comes to how brands act, none of us are stupid. We've all got our opinions, and we all remember little things. We're we're that way inclined because we don't want to part of our money, and we're not so flippant with it. Oh, I'll buy everything. We're a little bit more kind of studious and think about it a little bit more, I think.
I think the thing to take away is, if you pay attention, there's a lot of good stuff out there for us detectors. There's a lot of choices.
There's a lot of choice, isn't there?
Yeah. And we're very lucky. I mean, I love different tools for different jobs. And I like trying out the different detectors. Yes, Nocta Macro is big, but I believe with all my heart they care. And that's different. And they're not a conglomerate. Okay. Yeah. I think they've got the money and the backing to really push the envelope and come out with some really innovative, great things. And I think their heart's in it 100%. I think they want to be the best. And I love that, because we can sit here and say, yeah, they're a bigger company and stuff. A few years ago, they weren't even on the map in the United States. And it's because they're putting out good stuff, and because people are talking about them that they've made such a name. Look, here in the United States, we're very proud, and you hear Buy America, support American companies, and you still have that here. As far as I'm concerned, the only American company that has any chance to stay in the market is Garrett. I think Garrett, and I think we're going to see some really good stuff out of them coming up. And I could be wrong. But these other companies, this renaming it, is pissing their loyal customers off. Renaming it and not really doing anything to it, maybe a different paint scheme. They're tired of that crap. And, coming out with a new detector and it breaks, I know guys, another manufacturer come out with this one and people that like it, they like it, but I don't know anybody that hasn't had it back at least once for repairs, if not 2 and 3 and 4 times. And those guys are saying, I love it, but this thing's going to be going out of warranty soon and I'm going to end up with a broken detector,
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on here in the United States that I wish I could say, yeah, this company, they're innovative and kick butt, but I can't. I think Garrett's still in the race. I'm hoping they stay in it, but it's overseas. It's with Rudis, Minelab, and Nocta.
Where are Minelab?
Minelab, from my understanding, is now they were out of Australia. They were bought. And they're a Chinese company bought them that owns like 30-some companies, I think. 20-some companies or 30-some companies. That is my understanding. I could be
American.
No, they've never been American.
Oh, I thought they were American. That weird. No, yeah. I didn't. Got no idea.
Tony said Australia. That their origins are Australian, but I'm almost positive they are now owned a company in China.
They must have America must have like a big part to do with it though, to do with them, because anything released is typically in American, if I remember rightly. But I went to the stand at Detectable, and the ladies there were American as well. There must be something to do. I don't know. It could be just employees, couldn't they? No idea.
What do you mean? There's something with them here?
I'm not sure what you mean. So when I went to the Detectable, it's like a metal detecting festival. There was a Minelab tent there, and you have like the representatives of each company. So, for example, Nocta and Macro's tent was Dilek, and then C-Scope's tent was Martin, etc., etc. And the guys at the Minelab tent, the ladies there, they were American. But I think that also some of the videos and that I've seen, like the promotional videos, seem to be American. Maybe it's because they're just trying to hit that particular audience. But I was always under the impression that they were an American company for some reason.
Tony, I'm sorry, real quick. Tony posted in 2008, Minelab became a member of the Dynamic Coden group of companies. Our parent company, Coden Limited, is an international leader in high-frequency radio markets with customers in over 150 countries. Yeah, they're a big conglomerate, man. It's sad, but yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: it's hard to break into the U.S. market, right? I became a dealer, and I fell in love with their product. I pushed them exclusively because, I mean, unless you wanted something much cheaper. I didn't push people to that. It's because I believed in it. Hey, if you can afford this, this is what you want. If this is what you're looking to do. I was a multi-dealer, but if you were looking for something, you didn't want to do what the E-Track and the Explorers did, I would, please don't think I'd ever push somebody to something they didn't want or need. But I loved them, and I became known for that. I sold a lot of them. And here was, I mean, from the beginning, it was rocky, but it's like they've never had their stuff together. There's been what I call regime changes. There's been at least 2 that I'm aware of where like everybody was fired and new people come in, and it's crazy for the United States anyhow. But they come out. What really got me? I used to make a living selling metal detectors, selling Minelabs. Okay. I made a house payment. I made all my bills because I sold so many. Minelab. They're I felt like it was greedy. They come out and they said, we're doing tier pricing based on what you sell. Tier 1 gets the best price, tier 2 gets the next best, and then tier 3. I ended up in tier 2, and what I was now paying for a detector, a Minelab detector, is what the tier 1 was selling them for. You know what that did to me? Put me right out of business. And it's because of greed. I mean, to me, that was greed. And, it just went on and on from there, man. I really struggle with that company. I know they make good stuff, but as far as how they care about.
Yeah, it sounds like that you've just I feel sorry for you, buddy. I really, really do. It just sounds like
that was years ago. I'm doing great. It happened. But there were things before that, and there's still been things after that, and it's just like man, what a horrible company. Great technology, but do they care about their customer? Are you going to talk to somebody at the top like you can at Nocta Macro or Rudis or even Garrett now? I'm sorry you had problems, but you can get a hold of people and they'll take care of your issues. You're going to do that with mine? No, mine lab don't care.
I feel bad for using my Equinox 800 now, Mike. You know that, don't you?
No, you should not. Man, you hide and watch. I'm buying one and I'm borrowing one. If I love it, I'll end up buying one.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad. I'm going to go where the best technology is.
It's just sad that you've had that experience, and modern companies shouldn't do that to people. They really, really shouldn't. But alas, they do, don't they? And the bigger they are, the more they get away with it. But again, I've got to mention this. It's my first experience with them, so I can't really. I can only judge them on what I see in front of me, and so
absolutely.
So far, dude, it's positive. It is positive.
There's no doubt I will like things about it. I mean, there's too many people that love it to there not be something about it. And, I've always separated the two because I've loved their products. I mean, and it is what it is. I don't have to like them as a company to use their products, and that's okay. And I would tell anybody, don't listen to what I have to say or my experiences. My experiences was because I was a dealer and stuff, and that shouldn't play any part in that. But Tony said, "Yeah, stop it, Chris. Rudis time." We do have a lot of Rudis fans here, and Nocta Macros.
Hopefully, I'm going to be one of them soon. As I said, it was supposed to be the day that I was going to start my testing. Oh God! And then my car's broke. It's leaking oil and water at the same time. I think I went over some rough ground, so that's not looking good.
Oh no, that's not good.
It's also I want to spend some. My whole thinking is 50 hours a time with each machine. So I did that with the Amphibio, done that with the Equinox, and I really just want to give the Rudis some time. I just give it some time to breathe, and I can as well because I've got no other machine to review straight after it. Mm-hmm. And it's, like we're talking about this kind of like psychological bias. I have a psychological bias with the routers where I want it to do well. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? I don't think that's going to affect my field testing at all. But it's just like, come on, man, you can do it. Come on, it's the underdog, isn't it? I love the underdog. I really, really do. But I say that, and then I went and bloody fell in love with the Equinox 800.
And that's okay. Just keep an open mind as you run the Rudis, and be honest. I think that's important to keep honest. And I love Nocta Macro.
It's balanced really nicely, isn't it?
Which one? Light. The Rudis? Yeah, I love the layout of the Rudis.
Yeah,
and it's very strong.
Light as well. It is. Have you mixed up the coils yet?
Yes, I've used some different coils, and I've used that 8-inch concentric, I think, or 9-inch concentric. I love a concentric coil. That's just me. But yeah, I've used it for sure. But to be honest with you, I tend to run the bigger coil just because you can get away with it. I mean, and that thing is so good and so fast. Even in the trashiest sites, you can just hammer on stuff with that big coil, so you're not going to lose depth, And I mean,
so how was the battery life?
I couldn't tell you other than really good. I mean, I go a long time without changing batteries.
Oh. Cool.
And it holds six batteries.
Yeah, I loaded them in yesterday, and it was kind of refreshing to go back to a machine that uses batteries that you have to put in as well. Because because all of my machines are batteries that you have to actually fit like that. So when I started using the Equinox and the Amphibio, it threw me sometimes in the fact that I had to bring them into my house to charge them on my computer, which was just completely alien for me, because if I'm out in the field, and my batteries go, I'll just stick new batteries in the thing. But those machines, you're out in the field, you're done, man.
Yeah.
You've got some sort of kind of like charging, something to charge. So it's quite nice with the routers to go back to old school batteries. It's that felt good.
Yeah, I just had that conversation with somebody the other day. Oh, I know what it was. I think it was on the podcast. Matt asked what the 6MXI used for batteries, and I said 8 AA's, and he's like, "Oh, he was kind of," and it does use a lot of batteries, but I'm okay with that. I now, on one hand, I like that these detectors are going to internal batteries that are rechargeable. But on the other hand, here's something else about the Equinox that I think is bad. Okay, yeah, right. Sorry,
Michael. Can I butt in for a moment?
Sure, go ahead. Did we wake you up? Were we too loud?
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to depart. I've got to be up for work in 6 hours, so I'm going to have to depart. Unfortunately,
man.
It's been a pleasure talking to you as ever, Chris. I have sent you an inbox of me with a C-Scope 600 series in about 1978 to your Addicted to Bleeps account, just so you can have a laugh at my clothing. So, obviously, thanks again for coming on this week. Next week, Mike, we've got Representative Nathan and his brother from Blackadder as guests.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So I'll let you go in. I'll let you both crack on chatting everything, Explorer, Fruits of Mind Lab. One thing I did want to say, there's been an announcement this week. Mind Lab are the official sponsors of Detectable this year, which takes part at September 13th to the 16th.
Mike won't be going then.
I would still go. I don't care. They'd probably avoid me. Haven't
they got something big up their sleeve this year? Apparently.
Apparently so. Yeah, that's why they're obviously promoting the festival. I presume. Also, I've added a photograph to the All Metal Mode UK podcast Facebook page of an absolutely gorgeous box that was created for me by CJ Sadler Gifts on Facebook. No relation, and it's basically a finds box with the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine logo on it. So it's right in front of me, been playing with it, cleaning finds while you two have been chatting, and it's beautiful. So have a look at that. So thank you all. And unfortunately, as I say, I'm absolutely dead to the world. I'm going to have to depart.
Hey,
take it easy, buddy.
Dave, as soon as I get off here, I'll come crawl in bed and we'll spoon.
Okay, baby.
Good night.
Good night, baby cakes. See you, Chris.
See you later, man.
Good night, sugar britches.
Okay.
I love poor Dave. He should. You know what? When I get talking metal detecting, I think his eyes just. When we get into talking metal detectors like that, I love that. Where he kind of just goes to sleep on me. He should have just.
I didn't know he was there.
You poor guy. He should have just passed the show for night and. Yeah. I'll go crawl in bed and kiss him goodnight and stuff later. But
do that first, man.
What was we talking? Where was we at exactly?
Oh, God knows. I can't remember.
Lord.
Was it something to do with the? No, it wasn't the festival. You got to come over here sometime, man. You got to get over here, dude. You know.
I want to so bad. I want to come over for Detectable, and then I'd like to meet everybody at Detectable, and then.
Right.
And then I want to spend like a week just hardcore to sleep in the. I don't care, sleep in the fields, Get
over here, man. We'll set you up. We'll all set you up. There's so many of us that have got fields that will be able to make that happen.
I don't even care. I'd give everything away. You could have everything. I just want to come over and enjoy your history. And have a chance to find it. I don't care if I bring nothing home.
Hey, mate, dude, it's your history as well. Let's be honest.
True. Absolutely.
It is. When I did that DNA test and it put me in contact with 176 Americans.
Right.
Who are my cousins. Yeah, it's like, whoa. It's just, you are us and we are you.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, get over it, man. Come on, do it. Aim for Detectable.
This year with my baby, I don't think it's doable yet. But Steph's getting ready to lose her job, so that's I don't know. Things are kind of uncertain for us right now. I don't know. I just don't know. I will eventually. I mean, it's like my goal. That's on my bucket list, and I want to do it in the next couple years. But yeah, we just got bad news. Her company's going out of business, and so
it's hard times. Hard times at the moment.
Yeah.
I hope that works out. I hope it works out positively.
It will. It will.
But yeah, just know that if you do come over here, you will be taken care of. And to us, like driving 3 hours or 2 hours to another place is like massive. But to you, who lives in America, you're probably like,
right.
I do that to get to work.
Right. I live way close to the eastern border of Texas, and it takes me about 2.5 hours to get there.
God,
just to Texas. I bet it would take me over 10 hours to get to the western. Yeah, well, it's a big country. Yeah,
isn't the whole of Britain like smaller than Texas? I think. Is it something like that?
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Wow, man.
It's kind of that is something I've learned about the show. Doing this show is you have people like, I got to drive to work tomorrow, and it's it takes me 20 minutes, and I'm like, what? Like people talk different over there. Like, I want to go to this hunt, but it's 2 hours away, and I'm like, yeah, that's a quick little hop in the vehicle. I'm not sure what's going on here. We definitely look at it a little bit different. For sure, but
I think you'll cover England quite quickly. I think with that mindset,
right?
When you come over, there's so many metal detectorists that listen to this podcast. You can just go county. You could do all of the counties, I reckon, and just like have a really, really good time. And also, if you do think about coming over September, it's still really nice and warm over here in September.
Yeah,
so you won't be feeling the cold until about November.
I'm from Ohio, which is northern United States, so I'm used to, the temperatures don't bother. The heat is what gets me. That's the part that kills me. But I don't mind the cold so much. I like just mild.
So there you go. That's the European in you. That's the British in you.
Right.
I hate the heat, man, and I'm fine with the cold. I like the cold.
Right.
I know where I stand with the cold. If I need to warm up, I move quickly.
Exactly.
The heat, there's no real way of like cooling down other than, I don't know, getting a fan or something.
Right. And I'm a fat guy, and it gets like 100 degrees here, 110 in Texas, and it's just like, well, I'll tell you how warm it is. This winter, I've put on pants 3 times. Other than that, I'm in shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 times this winter, is it. And other than that, I'm in shorts. Hey, real quick, I want to. We've been trying to I'd like to get wrapped up soon, but Andre, I'm not even going to try to say his last name. He found a Roman fibula, and we keep trying to get him on the show. And he has sorry guys, he's always working late and stuff. Andre, I seen you in chat. Are you available now? Could we call you in? Let me know. And but yeah, I want to say, don't judge Mind Lab because of my experiences. Use what works for you, and this is to the listeners and everything. Use what works for you, but I think whether you're in the market for a detector or anything else, if you have a chance to even borrow for an afternoon or something a Rudis, give it a chance. It's put aside, okay, that they're a small little company that Eric's been detecting all of his life. It's his passion, and he's an electrical engineer. Put that aside. They are the reason I talk about them so much is, one, I love what they're doing. I love that 71. But two, they're we could say the underdog, and that's true, but nobody's really talking about them. And I'm telling you, I would put it up against anything I've used, it's as good or better than most at a lot more. You ask me, I just say how it is and how I feel. Rudis versus an E-Track. I'm going to take the Rudis. Rudis versus CTX. I'm going to take the Rudis. Rudis over anything that Fisher makes. I'm going to take it. AT Pro. I love the AT Pro and I love what it's about. I'm going to take that over the AT Pro all day long. I haven't used an XP. I haven't used a Deus or the ORX. I can tell you it is right there with an I have no doubts it's right there with an Amphibio. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to quickly chip in. If you get the opportunity to use a Gold Max Power, that's one of XP's machines. It's completely analog. You would love it. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Oh, I'm sure. I love analog. I'll tell you a funny thing about analog. Now, the 6MXI, from my understanding, they are kind of combining analog and digital. To me, it totally felt like an analog detector to me the other day. Now, I love analog detectors. Please don't, anybody listening, don't think that that's a bad thing. But I had a guy that does electric. I don't think he's an electrical engineer, but he's highly competent. And here in the United States, somebody I talk with. And him and I were having this conversation one day. Like, he's got VDI detectors and stuff, but he's like me. He uses he was using Tesoros for relic hunting. And we were talking about it one day, and I said, what about them works? We know it's old technology. The Tesoros look like toys. They look like 1970s toys. They do. Absolutely. But they get the job done. And he said, here's what I think it is. He said, Mike, do you have a digital multimeter? Yeah, I do. He said, do you have a analog one? And I said, yeah. He said, have you ever put your digital multimeter into an outlet and it just jumps? It won't settle on a number, and it, it's 110 volts, but it's 110 blah 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 blah, point, and it's just jumping, and you can't, it's even jumping on to 120, 119, 121, and you can't get a reading. I said, yeah. He said, what happens when you put a analog in there? Every time 120. And that's what you need to know is it's 120 or it's on, it's real close. It's not 110, it's not 130, it's not 50. You've got 120, and you don't need to know if it's 118, 119, 121 and point something. But, I think even if he's wrong, it's a good analogy. I think these digital detectors, they're trying to give you too much information and they're processing too much, and you can take analog into that heavy iron and it just handles the iron better because maybe it's a little simpler. Let's say, I don't care. It's handling the iron better for me. So, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I do agree, and I definitely agree. I absolutely prefer the simplicity, and that's why I kind of don't. Again, going back to I don't really pay that much attention to what's going on screen-wise with my Equinox 800 or anything. I don't go into any depth. But one thing I will say about that machine is, and it's surprised me because we all know that all machines love big iron. I haven't had one plough blade yet. I haven't had anything huge which is iron with the Equinox yet. So I'm wondering if, I don't know, have they done something technologically which can handle iron better with the multi-frequency? I don't know, man.
Well, let me tell you a quick story about that. If you don't, go ahead. I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off.
That's it. That's all I had to say. Okay. Go on. I'm interested. Yeah.
There's a guy that's done the podcast, the American podcast, like 2 or 3 times. He's a Deus guy, and he loves his Deus. He's very accomplished with it, and he meets up with a guy every year in Ohio, where I'm from, and they go relic hunting in the fields, and he hunted with him, and what'd you think about the 800? Because his buddy had just gotten an 800, and he said, Mike, I was really impressed. And one of the things that he was most impressed on, that guy was digging not only a lot less iron, they got into one field where his friend with the 800 found a bunch of good stuff, and with his Deus, he couldn't get past the old like tin sheet metal roofs. He said, man, the Deus loved it. And he said for some reason that 800 just had no problem with it. He could tell what it was and he wasn't digging it. So, I think there's some magic going. I've got a friend here that uses it. Now, he will go to his AT Max first. Now, this guy, he's got a lot of different detectors. He loves trying out new technology. He finds some great stuff. But he's had Whites, Fishers, Garrett's, everything. I mean, there's not much he hasn't had that's relevant right now. And he will go to his Max first. And he said, don't get me wrong, he said it's just less chatty. I can calm it down and find really good stuff. But he goes, the 800 I use to come back over after I've hunted everything out. And he said, there is something special going on with that multiple frequency. I can usually go in and find things that the other detectors missed. And so I think there's something special going on there. I can't say yet. I haven't used one, but I think there is.
Yeah, something's going on. Is it some sort of witchcraft? Mm-hmm. Some sort of spells that they've casted upon the machine. I don't know. Right. It's but I've only touched on it a little bit in this conversation, which I've really enjoyed, by the way. I don't know if anybody else has, but I've enjoyed it.
Right, I have too.
I'm still trying to figure out what the hell is going on in my mind concerning the fact that I can, and again, these videos are on C-Scope's channel. I can use machines from 1984 and still find objects of relevance, and I can go out with a modern machine and perhaps not. And it's all just the fact that you gotta walk over this stuff, and sometimes perhaps we can overthink things slightly, I think. And it's just a case of you in the right place at the right time. Of course, you need the machine to do its job enough for you to be able to, dig, find the target, locate the target. But you got to walk over it, man.
Something you said that I disagree on is you said something. What was it? 5% the detector.
Yeah, that was just kind of like a flippant.
No, I know. No, I get but there is a lot that goes into it. First off, you gotta be somewhere where there's good stuff, and there's research and everything else. But if you can do all that and not know your detector, not find stuff, and I've done that many times over the years. It's even happened to me, like when I'm using a new detector and I'm up against somebody that's running AT Pro for 5 years, and they kick my butt. And it's not because I'm not a good detector. I don't know the detector yet. I used to, when I was a dealer, I'd take people out and teach them their detector. And I always kicked their butt. I'd walk behind them and pick up out targets. But you gotta know it, and you've got to learn your detector. And the better you know it, the better you're going to be. And there is skill that comes to play more than what you say. But I do agree that if you added up skill versus luck and getting your the research and all that, it does outweigh it for sure.
And I think that modern machines are just all so good, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're all modern machines are pretty damn good. And you can if there's an item at 3 or 4 inches, and you wave the coil over it, then you're going to find it. It doesn't matter how. I don't think it matters how much you've used the machine. I think in the instance of, as you mentioned there, complete beginners who've never really metal detected before, it's different, isn't it? But I think that somebody that's been doing it for a while and then uses a new machine, I think they'll understand enough that a good tone is a good tone, isn't it? A good tone is a good tone on all machines. It's just I don't know, Mike. It's becoming more and more apparent to me that it's such a luck-based game. You move a couple of inches to the left as you're taking your sweep, and then you've just missed that gold chalice.
Yeah.
It's so tight, isn't it? And that 1220B I used from 1984. I think that found there's a cup over here called the Ringlemere Cup. Is it the Ringlemere Cup or something like that? And that's a big, solid gold chalice, a cup. And that old thing found it. Mm-hmm. you hear all the time people saying, "Oh, I found my granddad's metal detector up in the attic," and off they go out of it and find a bloody hoard.
Yeah. Again, we have over the years there has been a lot of bells and whistles added to detectors, but when you talk, like when I talk to his name completely just escaped my poor little wore out head. George Kinsey. When I talk to George Kinsey, I mean he's been detecting since '69. To him the last huge breakthrough was when MindLab come out with which detector? We're talking probably late '90s, early 2000. They came out with something, and he said that was, and I believe it was BBS technology, which then the MindLab, the E-Track and stuff, and Explorers went into FBS technology. But he said, that to me was the last big update. I mean, so. And he's used an 800. He's used an Amphibio multi-cruiser. He's used a Rudis. He's used stuff I've never. He'll tell me detectors, and I got to look it up, and it's a Russian detector. It's from Poland or Czechoslovakia. I mean, that's how this guy is. He loves the technology, and he's probably got one of the nicest collections of anybody I've ever spoke with. So it's not like he don't buy them and test them in a test garden. He gets out and tests them. He puts them through their paces, and he can speak very highly educated on them. But he still has some really old detectors. Matter of fact, the last time he did the show, we were talking. It's like, Mike, I'm going to send you some of these old detectors to play with, and he got a hold of me the other day, and he said, "I'm sending you some detectors out Monday," and I'm looking forward to it. I think people get caught up in all the bells and whistles and everything, and there are improvements for sure. I mean, what got me out of Tesoro was the Impact and Multi-Cruiser with that iron audio. They are killer field machines with that, and there are some of those bells and whistles are really good, but there's something to say about simplicity too.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think that I said it right at the beginning of the conversation again, that I think that a metal detector should always be secondary to the act of metal detecting, and sometimes it's. With simplicity come other experiences. So I think with simplicity, perhaps you might consider the landscape a little bit more. You might consider the environment. You might enjoy your day a little bit. You might enjoy the fresh air. Whereas you get a lot of people who are just screen watching. Their complete focus is there. Whereas I think that my focus is probably 50-50. I'm half listening to tones, and I'm half looking at that bloody lovely bird flying over there.
Yeah, right.
The metal detecting is so important as well. It's just it's a lovely thing, and and I have gone out at times where I'm just so focused on the screen and on the on the tones, and I'm just like really in there. That's a good place to be, but sometimes you got to check out the set, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's the guys who started with without VDIs. I think like George Kinsey I'm talking about. I would suspect, I've never hunted with him. He's out of Virginia. I bet there's nobody out there that's even me doing 20 years. I bet he's got more skill than anybody who started with, because he grew up on tones. Those that's all they had was those tones. And I think, although I love a VDI detector, and you get so much more information with these new detectors, my hearing's not as good, but the tone is what I have trained myself from the old timers to listen to first. And the VDIs will fool you, and you will miss good stuff. I think everybody should learn the hard way like I did. Go out and dig. Just dig. And, people, I see it all the time on social media. Okay, I got this detector, and it's a VDI and it's got all the bells and whistles. Now, what do I do? How do I set it up? What VDI numbers am I looking for? Go to a trashy ass place, put your headphones on, get lost in those tones and dig. I'm a fat 43-year-old guy. And when I learn a new detector, that's what I go dig. I get my big butt down on the ground. I don't care. I don't care if I think it's in the pull tab range. I dig and dig. I'm listening for the tone. Then I'm looking at the numbers. I mean, I go out. When I get a detector, I'll put it together. I'll run some targets under it and just listen to it. I'll go see if there's anything I feel like I need to change on my 3 coins in my test garden. And then I go dig them. I did a review, it's probably been a year or so ago, and a guy said, I'm not even sure what detector. He said, can you run some more tests to see how it acts like this on this? And I said, I don't do test. I wasn't rude, but I said, I don't do test. I mean, I got 3 coins in the test garden. Other than that, I get out and I dig. And that's how you got to learn a detector, and that's how you got to do it. But I love what you're doing, that you're getting those old detectors and doing that, man. That is a blast.
It's so much fun as well. It's. I mean, these things are like spaceships, Mike. They're like huge, and with no balance. They're just massive. Like the weight is awful. They're just monsters. These things, but I don't know. It's so much fun. It's just really, really cool. And you've got to remember, over in this country, the sheer amount of fines that were made with those machines, because you've got 4,000 years, whatever, thousands and thousands of years of history, and then metal detecting comes along, and then commercial metal detecting for hobbyists around about that kind of early 80s point, whatever, and they've got thousands of it. You would be walking a couple of feet, there's a gold coin. You walk another couple of feet, there's a gold coin. There was just so much out there. Obviously, there was a lot of rubbish as well. But all the old timers over here that I speak to, just the amount of stuff that they've had from those machines is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And now the people that have been into it, some of us, some of me even as long as me and longer, because VDIs have been out so long, they turn their nose up to those old machines and wouldn't have anything to do with it, or they turn their nose up to a detector that doesn't have a VDI and stuff like that. I loved taking my little cheap Tesoro out field hunting with these guys with these $500,000, $1,500 detectors and kicking their butt with it, and I would never say names. A friend of mine who's using a very expensive, a very high-end detector, and he's very good with it. Him and I went field hunting, and I just, every turn I was kicking his ass, and he was getting iron signal, or he was getting signals, and he's like, oh, this is a deep, good target. Come here and listen to check your Tesoro out on it. And I'd run and I'm like, that's iron. And he's like, no, I don't. And I'm like, well, I don't know. My detector's saying iron. He would dig it. It was iron. We did that 15, 20 times. And I mean, we got into some really heavy iron at one site. He couldn't get in there because his detector was going, blah, 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 just absurd. And I was just in there, just putting right along, man, digging stuff out of there, no problem. And people will turn their nose up to these detectors with no VDIs and stuff like that. I think this 6MXI, I think I'm going to fall in love with it. And I think it's going to be my go-to field.
One thing I'd say about 6MX, which is related to what you're talking about there, is that when I go out with my friend Mark is the best detectorist I know, bar none. He's just brilliant. He really, really is. And I learned so much from him. At the moment, he's got a 3030. And then his son, Luke, both become really good friends of mine, and he's using Explorer too. When I went out with the 6MX, I would keep up. It was the fines that we were getting were pretty similar. I was there with them. Sometimes one week would go out and they'd do a little bit better than me. Next week I'd go out and I'd do a little bit better than them. It was there or thereabouts. So the 6MX can, it can definitely it could definitely hold itself up against these big machines.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't think it'll have a problem. It is super fast. It was, I was, like I said, I was in a grassy field where there used to be buildings there and stuff. So there's a ton of iron and junk. It's been in constant use. It's now a playground. It's right next to a school that the kids play out there, and there's so much trash. And I could hear, I had my iron set to 1, and I could just, quietly hear, but it was so quiet, which I loved. And then I'm listening for my other 2 tones. And the mid-tones I didn't dig because there was so much aluminum and stuff from the kids. But I dig the coins out, and it's like, dang, I like this. This is, I am always looking. I'm always on the lookout for a simple, get it done detector, the workhorse. And this is going to be, one of those that I just call a workhorse. It's simple, it's easy to use, and it's a workhorse. Where the Rudis is kind of at the other end, but what I like about the Rudis, you can turn it on and go. And one of the things I love about, you can change it. And so I have many different styles and wants and needs. And so they all fit that somewhere, but for a field machine, simple, lighter, better. I don't, I just need something that gets the job done and does it good. And I don't think I'll find anything. I hate to speak out other than I was in a lot of iron the other day. I don't think anything will outdo it in what I need. Another thing, when we field hunt, we don't need a lot of depth. They plow and things I don't in the United States. We find most of our stuff within 4 or 5 inches. I mean, 99% of our finds.
Yeah, we do here, actually. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like, it's most of the stuff you'll find is about that depth, yeah. But yeah, I guess it's thinking about it, it's going to be more that way over there, isn't it? Because there's not enough time for things to regurgitate.
Mm-hmm. And they keep plowing it up, and I mean they've gone to no plow, but they still will chisel plow every 4 or 5 years and stuff, and it just brings it back up. So I don't, depth, if it's not quite as deep as some of the other ones, I'm okay with that, because the stuff I need something that'll fight the iron, because we're always in heavy iron in the fields, and that's what I need.
And I'm the same. I will take recovery time and iron bias over depth any day. Absolutely. Something that's will pick out iron and has a really quick recovery time, which is going to get me through trash quickly and efficiently. I'll take that over depth. Yeah, definitely. It comes back to my point earlier. It's people go, oh, this machine it goes so deep. It's so brilliant. But what they're not telling you is that all of the stuff which is bad that they're digging at depth, and I just don't want to do that. And sometimes we've got this field over here which is just flint. It's flint. So you're digging, and when you're digging at depth, it's a nightmare because you're digging through flint. And then because I live on the south coast of England, we've got chalk. So you get to a certain depth, you get to a few inches down, you're digging through chalk. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not bothered about machines that go at 15, 16, 17, 18 inches. I just can't be doing with that because it's just hard work. And the ground over here gets. I mean, if you're not dealing with flint and you're not dealing with chalk, you get down about 9 inches, and the ground becomes solid anyway.
Clay, probably.
It's just awful, man. I don't want. I'm the same as you, Mark. I'm just not that interested in depth. I'm really not. Mm-hmm. Anyway, listen, man. I've got to wrap this up because I've got to get up early tomorrow.
Yeah, I apologize. I get talking about detectors.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's been brilliant. It really has. Hey, look, I should get one of my friends on at some point, and so we can kind of,
absolutely.
Add some other opinion to the mix. I hope has everybody gone off the chat? They probably have by now.
No, it's still going pretty good. I was surprised. As a matter of fact, we have so many people chat. Well, not so many people, but the chat's going so fast that once it reaches a certain part, I got to open it up in another window. It actually stops off of my program, and we've done that quite a while ago. So they're chatting up. And again, real quick, I want to say, well, we can get you off here, but just wanted to say real quick, sorry.
That's cool.
Again, you can catch us on Spreaker. You can download the show off Spreaker. You can listen to it anytime. iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube. You can find us anywhere. Just about. There's even some that I'm not sure, some affiliates of iTunes and I think iHeartRadio that I'm not even aware of. So we're all over the place. You can catch the shows anytime, download them to your convenience, or listen to them at your convenience. So
this guy, before I go, I've just looked into the chat here. This guy, 180 Felixstowe Hunter. I like this dude. We've been talking backwards and forwards about pretty much what we've been discussing tonight, actually, and that's considering, what these brand new metal detectors, are they really all that? I believe that he uses a 250, but has puts a better coil on it and does really, really well out of it because he understands the machine. I think I might be getting people mixed up here now, but he'll be worth getting on the show. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love that. We're always looking for guests. We are out, I want to say a month or more, and me and Luke have been talking. Luke again is behind the scenes. He's what makes our show so great. I'm going to be really honest. Luke Higgins, he's what makes this show so great. Me and Dave does too. Dave does. I don't know the UK like those guys, but Luke really is out there. Getting everything lined up and getting people lined up for us. But real quick before you go, you and I got so into our conversation, I wasn't watching questions or anything. Does anybody have questions for either one of us before we finish the show? I apologize. I missed a lot of the chat.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
If you have any questions for us, let's get those asked right now.
First question gets it.
Right.
One for you and one for me.
Yeah, nobody wants to. They know I just ramble about the same old crap all the time.
They just hate us, man. They probably just turned it off and are just talking between each other now. I think.
Right. Mike's ranting about detectors again.
Are you on YouTube? There's your question.
I am on YouTube, but I hate doing YouTube videos. When I get out, and I don't even have any of me detecting. I get out detecting. I just want to detect. That's my getting away from the kids, the family, the headaches. I did a couple on Tesoro. I kind of had a rant. Some guy trashed Tesoro, and I took the time to do that. Luke has been trying to get me to do some videos, and I went to do them, and my camera quit. Like, it didn't record it for some reason and stuff. And I'm just like, it's not my thing.
Do you have a mobile phone?
Yeah, I've got a phone. I've got a good phone. Right. And I've got a couple decent cameras too, but I don't know. I get out and I'll have intentions to do videos, and I'll start detecting. It's like, I don't want to take the time, man. I'm in my groove. Yeah, I'm doing my thing. And it's my escape. And when I got to start doing videos, it kind of...
it can be a bit of a burden, I've got to admit.
Mm-hmm. It's more of a job then, and for me.
Absolutely.
For me personally.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think we just lost you.
Oh, were you still there?
Yeah, there you are. Okay. I don't know what happened.
Well, that was weird, wasn't it? My computer went funny.
Huh.
Uh-oh. I think we might have gremlins in the system, man. Sometimes I would just go out and I won't film anything. So I'll just go out and I'll detect, and it's like relax,
right?
Because I don't have the. I mean, I do like making. Obviously, I really like making my videos. I really enjoy it. It's nice. And sometimes when you don't have a a great day detecting, it's nice to do the whole kind of filmmaking bit, and it kind of fills that gap. But every now and again, it's nice to I do it on the beach more than anything. I'll just go out and I'm not going to film anything today. I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to metal detect, and it's nice. Yeah. I do understand. Yeah.
But I might eventually, as time, right now, another thing is I have 2 opportunities a week to get out, and and then they're not even full days, with my baby and stuff. And so when I get out, it's my escape big time right now. And the videos kind of turn it more into work. And so
one thing I will say about kind of like pro doing the videos is sometimes you get into a bit of a groove with it. Once you get a few habits formed when you're doing videos. So like, I know my camera is in this pocket, so I go bam, 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 done, and I'm detecting again. Whereas you've got to kind of learn that routine at first.
I get that. Yeah. Watching you make it look easy.
It's really awkward. In the first instance, it's really awkward, but you get your way of doing things, and it becomes really, really quick. Yeah. So hold that in your mind as well, Mike.
Yeah, I know. I kind of need to take the plunge. I just haven't done it yet, but I would like to.
It's not for everybody.
Well, and another thing, where I'm at in Texas, and most of what I do, it's not worth filming. I am bound and determined next time I go to Ohio and do some field hunting, I'm gonna film some good hunts. But here, I don't have the time to go detect like I want. I get out for a few hours each twice a week, and I got to stay close. I don't want to spend my time driving. I'm limited to where I can go and what I can do. We don't have fields around here I can hunt, so it's trashy parks and schools, and it's so hard trying to film that to get something good filmed.
Content,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. Where I go out field hunting and everything's good, all my finds are good, and it'd be a little bit simpler. Mm-hmm. But eventually maybe. Any other questions do we have?
One more question.
Okay.
Yeah, Pete's just said, Pete Terrell's just said, I thought I'd have a quick listen. It's still live. This is a marathon podcast. Is this the record? Have we beat the record? What's this? Nearly 3 hours.
Pete said, when we had him on 2 weeks ago, he said that there were some things coming. He was picking up a new, another brand. Pete, can you tell me who that is? Can you announce that yet? I got a question for him.
Is this Pete? Is this Pete from XP?
Leisure.
Not XP. Sorry, LP.
Yeah, LP.
Oh, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. I met him at Detectiveville.
I've got to talk to him a few times. Real nice guy, like Pete. We've had him on the show, and he'll talk about different things. I don't know. He might have tuned it off. He's like, "Oh, these guys are marathon talking."
Oh, look. See, that means
they just
so
picked
it's
up.
Not only was it only Detectnics that had Rutus?
I thought so. I guess
now LG have got them as well. That's good. That's more
good
coverage, isn't it? That's more coverage for the brand. Which is good.
Yeah, Pete Terrell with LP Detectors has Rutus. The Rutus stock arrived today. Congratulations! And Pete, you probably didn't catch it earlier. I said anybody in the UK, I think you need at least, if you get an opportunity to borrow one for an afternoon from your buddy, if you know somebody that's got one, I think they are one of the hottest detectors out there. That's absolutely my opinion, but they are absolutely fabulous detectors. If you're interested in one, get a hold of Pete. That's great.
Just don't ask him about Mind Lab.
Yeah, why would? Yeah, don't ask me about Mind Lab. Sorry, you probably good thing Pete missed that earlier. My little Mind Lab rant. All right, let's.
I've got to go, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry we kept you so long. So, hey, it's always a pleasure having you on.
I've just had a question. I've just had a bloody question. Can I quickly answer it? It's 180 Felix Day Hunter. He says, "How's the list going?" So the list is a thing where I help out other small metal detecting YouTubers. I'm using my channel to springboard their channels and make their channels give them more subscribers. So my subscribers go over to theirs and subscribe to them. So the list is going really, really, really well, actually. So there's a few that have joined this that have got about 300 or 400, 500 subscribers just from me recommending their channel. So anyway,
wow, that's great.
It's going really well. Yeah, I'm so happy with that.
And before you go, Addicted to Bleeps, I love watching your videos. I love the Dubays, which is Huntress Kimmy and Clodhopper Scott. Have you watched those yet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God, they crack me.
They're going to be added to the list. They're on the list. I think they're coming up, actually.
I'm surprised they are still married, the way she gives him such a hard time and stuff. Like, Scott is a heck of a trooper, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah, they're there. And Scott Dubai, yeah, I think you've got to add your name to the list. I don't know. There's like hundreds on there, and I've done about 8 now, I think. I don't know. Anyway,
something I wanted to say real quick. Hey, Pete,
No,
and it's to Pete Terrell. If you get a chance, can you send me an email so I have your email? It's just allmetalmode@gmail.com. There's something I wanted to talk to you about real quick. I'll send you over an email. But okay, let's wrap it up. Poor Chris, he's been on here all night. I've
really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I'm on my 5th beer now. I'm happy. Yeah,
I did 3 quick shots at the beginning. I definitely feel better. This cold's letting up some, so I might have to continue on with the shots after. I don't like getting too.
You do that.
Hammered.
I'm gonna have another beer in your name, Mike.
Oh, I appreciate that.
This one's for mine, lad.
There you go. Perfect.
Take it easy, my friend. Thank you for having me on again.
Oh, anytime, really, man. You know I always love it. So thanks for coming on.
Good night. Take it easy, buddy. Bye-bye.
You too, bye. All right, there you have it. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a good night.
The Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine acts as a hub for information, offering articles from archaeologists, detectorists and other specialists throughout the genre, featuring many links, event info and news articles associated to archaeology and metal detecting. We also offer professional review services and promotion for books, resources, videos, documentaries, gadgets, equipment and much more. The magazine is run by the archaeological and metal detecting community for the archaeological and metal detecting community. So come visit us at archmdmag.com, that's archmdmag.com, and check out information from our media section with all the latest content, news from the Archaeology channel, podcast and the YouTube channels that feature the now legendary Digger Dawn, the Man with the Hat and Archeo Duck, just to name a few. If you would like to offer an article, link or inquire about other services, then pay us a visit at archmdmag.com and drop us a line.